Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Rebellious Noise.
Welcome to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. On this channel, we bring you some great content from inside and outside of the squared circle. We will go through and offer some in-depth analysis of the biggest events of the year, as well as bringing you exclusive interviews with some of the industry's biggest names. There will also be live show reviews, in-depth features, and podcasts. So make sure you give that subscribe button a slam so you don't miss any of the action.
All right, hello and welcome, or should I say good day, and welcome back to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. My name is Scott. I'm joined by Lucas for the instant reaction review of Smackdown from Perth. And we have just finished the watch-along experience. Thank you for everyone for tuning in there and for staying with us live or catching us on demand. We appreciate you. But we've got a fun show to talk about, Lucas. It ended with a big moment there. We'll kind of touch on it because I know some people are going to want to talk about it straight away, but then we'll go chronologically as well. But it ended with a big moment, just to kind of recap, of a fireball in the face. Yes, I am not talking ECW here. I am talking Smackdown coming to you live from Australia. Ended with a fireball in the face. So a big moment there. Again, we'll pick that back up in a little bit because there's some fun things to dive into there. But overall, first of all, before we dive into some of the segments, what did you think of the show, Lucas?
I thought it was a strong episode, to be fair. We've seen a lot of tease for stuff, and obviously we know what's coming up next. Obviously, following Crown Jewel this weekend, we've got obviously Saturday main event to look up forward to, and Survivor Series War Games coming in November. So we've seen a lot of stuff kind of take place, and it's actually quite a stacked episode of SmackDown. We saw, I guess we may start at the beginning, the current champion Cody Rhodes coming out. And he kicked off the show. The men's Crown Jewel Championship belt was in the ring with him, and he did a promo, which was quite default to begin with, but the crowd very much took over that segment, and we had a non-PG moment take place midway through that promo. But it felt like there was a lot of life to this. Once it kind of got going, I felt. It started very, very just default for Cody. Very just default. He's going to say the same thing he always says. And we get the gist of this. And I think, to be fair, with this match in particular, and we'll move on to this more in the Crown Jewel kickoff, I guess, the video package they've done have just they've done the match more justice than anything they can do face to face until the actual match, in my
Mm.
opinion. But I thought it was nice seeing that crowd interaction and them acknowledge it, which is something which, to be real, it wouldn't have happened in years gone past. You know, Cody wouldn't
Yeah.
be forced to basically just stick to the promo.
Yeah. He went off script, definitely, and like you say, I don't think he's going to get punished for that.
No, I don't think so. I think it's created a nice, fun moment. You know, it will get shared, you know, around quite a lot.
Yeah.
Potentially, we'll see other. Well, I dread to think what chance they might be staying in the UK.
Well, the thing is, so if you're unaware, if you didn't watch it, basically the crowd were calling Seth a W word, which we will not be saying here, but a word very popular in Australia as it is here in the UK. Cody tried to get Michael Cole to say it, and bless him, he couldn't understand them. I was really hoping someone on the earpieces was saying to Michael Cole, this is what they said, just repeat it, and they were cool with it, because I reckon even Barrett to do it must have got the okay to do it as there's a fine, we'll take it, this is a viral moment, as you say. Sadly, Michael Cole didn't do it, much like he didn't do the shoey, which was a shame as well on the kickoff. But Barrett did express what the fans had been saying, and it was a nice little moment, as you say, just kind of off script. But started paint by numbers from Cody Rhodes, but I think in the end he kind of got across the point in the right way. Strange to have the omission of Seth Rollins here, but if he was there, it wouldn't have given that kind of natural part to breathe, let's be honest. So probably a good thing, and it plays into the fact that he walked out of the kickoff without saying anything anyway. So again, we'll touch on Crown Jewel and what it means for that, and predictions when we get to our Crown Jewel weekend kickoff show, and of course on the build-up show as well, which I appreciate. You may be watching this live or on demand, or you may be watching it on the replay segment of the build-up as well. So we'll talk about it there. But a fun way to start the show, and then we went straight into a very, very fun opening match. Lucas, actually, before we get to that, we had a backstage segment as well where Cody is walking backstage. He bumps into Jacob Fatu. Jacob Fatu basically says, I'm coming after that title, and Cody acknowledges that. Post Crown Jewel, we'll see if we actually get to something like that. But Drew McIntyre takes out Jacob Fatu, and this continues to be a theme throughout the show. We see that pick up later on. Then we do go to the match, though, and it is Sami Zayn's Open Challenge, of course, the US Open Challenge. We've seen 5 of these previous. I know that, thankfully, because Sami said to the camera, I'm 5-5. Not that match there. Let's get to the correct one there. Sami Zayn, we'll get to that one in a little bit. Sami Zayn going up against a mystery opponent, and the mystery opponent was the returning Shinsuke Nakamura. Now, I was very happy to see this, Lucas, because I'm a big Nakamura fan. But you'll know from being on the streams with me in the past, my big concern with Nakamura is that they give him something, he wins a title, and then he goes nowhere. That's exactly what happened last time around. So I was already feeling like I kind of didn't want him to win the title, even though I'm a big fan of him, because I think it kind of weirdly enough puts the ceiling on him that I don't think he's ever going to break through in WWE, unfortunately, anymore, as far as getting to that main event scene and becoming champion there. But for what it's worth, a fun return, a really, really fun match that ends in chaos. Before we get to the chaos and the way it ends, what did you think of the match and the reveal that it was Nakamura in the first place?
Yeah, it was done very well. Obviously, they've teased Nakamura being in the background of the segments the past few weeks. But last time we kind of saw him in action, he was, of course, a kind of samurai warrior version of this character.
Yeah,
slower entrance, different theme. I thought, to be fair, it was done really, really well. But you know, it just seemed that sadly people just go missing in this company, and he went missing for lengthy stretches, even when he was champion, and then just lost the belt back to LA Knight, and then kind of got forgotten about for months. But he's back, and you know, it was a very good moment. You know, hearing that entrance again, seeing that entrance again, and the fans are very, very receptive to him. He seemed very beloved by the Australian fans. It was a fantastic match, like genuinely a fantastic match. Obviously, you know, it kind of started slow, and they were finishing around nice little bits. But it kind of, when it really got going, it just made like very little things seem important with this. Like the whole, you know, he did the whole build up around the Kinshasa, I thought was perfect. How he did it. He did one, and my favourite part of that sequence where he did one, and Sami Zayn, the force of it basically drove Sami Zayn out of the ring. And then they did Sami Zayn doing the suplex and a loop kick on the outside, throwing Shinsuke back in, then just about getting back in himself, and then getting hit with another Kinshasa. And that led into a foot on the rope with the cover, all because Shinsuke, because he's now back to the performer Shinsuke, he's covering like the performer. so he's doing the kind of, he's not hooking the leg, he's being
Yeah.
show-offy. And so it was, I like things like that when they don't insult our intelligence. It made sense because, you know, Shinsuke, the performer, he does his performative move, being the Kinshasa, does a performative pin, and it's his own doing why he didn't win the US Championship from that maneuver anyway. As Sami Zayn gets a foot on the rope. We then saw a little bit more, and then we'll get to obviously the big angle. But the actual match that was presented in front of us was very, very good.
Yeah, really, really enjoyable. Almost PLE level when we kind of talk about it in that sense.
Because I think it was. I think it did the return to PLE as well, and that would have been.
Yeah. I mean,
winner potentially at PLE.
I think I'm in two minds on the presentation of Nakamura because I love this version of Nakamura, but I also really like the reinvention of Nakamura that we got last time around.
We never saw enough of it, did we? Really?
I know it's what started to win me over. I was like, you know what? Maybe it will be different this time. Maybe that's why they're giving him a mid-card title this time because they're going to make it matter and whatever else. And maybe the world title run's never going to happen, so therefore this is the best we can get. And then that kind of faded. And again, there were rumors as to why. And if it was something personally related to Nakamura's life, then fair enough. But I was surprised that they didn't go back to that. Again, happy to see, but it wasn't like it'd been that character for a long time. So it really is a shame. But look, always great to get the nice pop. It's a fun song to sing along to, don't get me wrong. And it was a nice little callback to his debut in NXT back in 2016 as well. Again, a match against Sami Zayn. So great dance partners, we'll say. You know, they really worked well together. And they did a good job at making me feel like I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know who's going to win this one. And the fans really behind, of course, the return in Nakamura, and you want to be there for history. So there was almost a kind of, you know, murmurs of boos when Sami did get the rope as well. So that was quite interesting to see. But then before they had the opportunity to really get annoyed at not seeing a title change, it was kind of saved in a way, if you will, because of that, but ruined at the same time because you get the MFTs getting involved. Now, it wasn't just the MFTs showing up as we know them today. They showed up with full face paint, and that's because first of all, we saw a hooded figure in face paint being a return of Tama Tonga. Very, very pleased to see this. He looked like a badass getting in the ring, and it was great because he had the hood up. I wasn't sure if it was a mask. I kind of thought it looked like his old face paint. And then the way he moved on the side of the apron and his hands sighted, and I thought, that's who I think it is. And he lifts his head and you see it is, you know, kind of geared up in the way that he used to be, as a member of the Gorillas of Destiny back in New Japan and Ring of Honor. And it really did hark back to those days. And I think it's a lovely kind of opportunity to refresh the MFTs even further. You know, I've said over the past few months that I'm really pleased that they don't just feel like the bloodline anymore. They're not the bloodline. Like, that's over. They're not the fake bloodline. They are Solo's MFTs, and they're basically more of a mixture of what their actual characters were before. As I say, you know, you've got the Gorillas of Destiny kind of homage, or if you will, in there as well, because it weren't just Tama Tonga. Tala Tonga, Tonga Loa, and JC Mateo showed up, all kind of kitted out, looking the same as the MFTs for Solo, who then comes in kind of suave, you know, cockily on the ring apron, makes his way in the ring, kind of makes a statement. Now, it's not the end of the MFTs and SmackDown. We'll get to them in a moment. But what were your thoughts on the new presentation for the MFTs and their kind of returning member of Tama Tonga?
I liked everything about it, minus one thing. I don't know about using the hidden blade as a move here. I think, obviously, it's a move which is used by a very popular wrestler on the other channel. I don't know why they choose to kind of do that. Because they must know. Like, I'm sorry. Like, it's not like,
you could also say though,
AEW Dark 3 years ago.
Yeah, but you've also got the buckshot lariat being used by
Logan Paul and stuff. Yeah,
Logan Paul.
Yeah, that's the only thing for me where I was like,
yeah, I get you. It makes you think of another show rather than what's going on in the moment. But maybe that won't in the future.
Yeah. I think in terms of the MOT, they need this presentation because I think they were at risk of becoming a little bit goofy, which is the direction they kind of wanted to go in. And don't get me wrong, I'm all for goofiness existing in wrestling. I think that, to be fair, it's actually one element that WWE is actually missing quite a lot now. But I think you can't have goofy in the same thing of, Solo Sikoa walking like a Bond villain.
See, I like Goofy Solo. If there's a way to do Goofy Solo at times, because he is looking different to the rest of the crew, but his crew are just badass. Maybe that's a bit more Dr. Evil than Dr. No, but yeah. But
I think they needed this because we're getting onto, obviously, we touched upon what happened later on in the show involving MOTs. But I think they did need a more serious presentation because of that.
Yeah.
but I thought it was done quite well. I'm happy with what we saw. In between all this, or just after this, I don't know whether it was before, in between or afterwards, because there was a kind of backstage bits and pieces that took place, but we did see Jacob Fatu and Drew McIntyre kind of renew their feud. This followed, though, a segment between Jacob Fatu and Cody Rhodes, where Jacob very clearly said that I am going to be next, essentially, in line for this championship. Because, I guess in a way, and we might have touched upon this in the Crown Jewel kind of kickoff bit we do, they've created a de facto situation where, okay, it actually makes sense for it to already be a next in line because there's not a championship match, at this PLE.
Yeah, they need to.
I've got to worry about, I'm gonna face Cody if you're champion. It's like, well, Cody is champion.
Yeah, true. It's just when you're done with this business, I'll be there, basically.
Yeah. But in between all that, we did obviously see Jacob Fatu and Drew McIntyre, collide backstage, and they've set that match up for next week's SmackDown, which is not in Australia, up in San Jose, California.
A lot of boos for that one.
So we saw all that taking place backstage. All in though, I thought that opening segment was done very well. The opening match story was done very well, following a very hot opening segment, and I was quite happy.
Yeah, as you say, the next thing we saw was the continuation of the Drew McIntyre, Jacob Fatu thing. Just getting some comments here. Ailen's in the house. Always good to see you. Aiden says, the SmackDown finish? Yeah, it has finished, buddy. We are recording this at the moment for the instant reaction review, but it's still part of the same stream, so you can go all the way back if you're going to tune in now and still use us as your watch-along experience. Again, appreciate everyone that joined us for the watch along itself. You're now watching the instant reaction review of SmackDown. We don't often get to do watch alongs because we're here in the UK, so these shows usually end at this sort of time, but in the AM. Not in the PM. It's been fun to watch SmackDown at 1 PM here in the UK, as we'll do the same for Crown Jewel, and we'll be able to do the same for Raw as well. Again, it's at a reasonable time for us. But again, thank you to everyone that's tuned in for the watch along and here for the instant reaction review. And as Lucas said earlier on, we'll be back live in just a few hours' time, actually, for our weekend kickoff show for Crown Jewel Perth, where we'll break down the card and talk all things Crown Jewel as far as predictions go. But let's kind of keep with SmackDown for the moment and talk about the kind of last stop before Crown Jewel. Of course, we got the go home SmackDown and a lot of great stories coming out of it, and leaning into Crown Jewel's matches. And of course, we kind of talked about a little bit already the Crown Jewel Championship. On the women's side of things, we saw both champions in world champions, at least, Tiffany and Stephanie teaming up against US champion Julia and Kiana James. What were your thoughts on this one, Lucas?
Yeah, like I said, it was nice to see Julia. I think that it does just beg one question though, like what is next for her in the Women's United States Championship picture, and also begs the question actually maybe what is next for Tiffany in that title picture. Those are the gaping holes here. But in terms of the match we saw, it was solid. It was nice seeing Stephanie and Julia go, work together again, obviously following a very good feud down NXT. And, again, we spoke about on the show itself, but said, it's just bonkers how both these ladies, but particularly Stephanie, have had such a meteoric rise. And yeah, I'm actually with you. You said something, you kind of said it on the show, but I'm going to say that she's within the top 3 acquisitions this company's made in the last 5 years, I think. I think in terms of, and just how it was, when you think these big impact moves, are about, what will this women's division look like without her? And I think there's a gaping hole in the last years of action because they've literally given her so much. And yeah, I think it was good. I'm glad they didn't do the thing that we kind of alluded to on the show as well. They didn't do the whole not getting along kind of stuff. They just let it be 2 champions who are happy to kind of work together, put the differences aside ahead of tomorrow's contest. And I'll get to my predictions for that because I think something might be happening, at the show itself in terms of the Crown Jewel match.
Yeah.
But what we got in this tag match was perfectly acceptable. Kiana James, as we predicted as well, took the pin. During this, I don't think she loses anything from that, as she's positioning herself very much as quote unquote the help, essentially. And so she's not necessarily she's fine to be taking a pin here. But I thought the match we saw was fine. It was good. I think it was a good decision that Stephanie went straight into the Devil's Kiss. On Kiana James, I think it was.
Yeah.
Off the bat, because it's a big high pop, high energy move. The crowd really love it, and Stephanie, everything about her is just screaming that she's a star. Everything about her, and I think again we're going out later on for tomorrow.
Yeah, 100%. Like you said, there's so much to break down, and these streams are fun. But we do want you to join us on the weekend kickoff show today, and also on a build-up show on Saturday as well, where we really will dig into the kind of the feuds themselves, the last-minute kind of rumors, and all that kind of stuff as well. So stay tuned for that good stuff. But yeah, I agree with you. It was the right move to make the non-champion take the pin, essentially, because again, we had the US champion in there as well, so it's probably the character that could take the pin as far as that goes as well. Next up, though, we continue with the theme of champions in the women's division, because we saw Zarya and Sol Ruka backstage, and then they had a little bit of a conversation with the women's tag team champions of Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair, hashtag not friends and all that good stuff. But they are getting on very, very well. They are still the champions, and they basically had a nice little thing that I don't think compromised either of their characters or either team's character, by basically being like respectful. You guys are doing good, but hey, we're so much better, and if you want to challenge, bring it, sort of thing. We don't know when that bringing it is at the moment. We were laughing on air about it possibly being maybe because they didn't want to get the fans in Australia booing again to say, oh, next week, especially to have an Australian, be taken away from them almost. We don't know when that match is going to happen, but that's what they're kind of setting up, essentially. Straight after that, though, we went into another tag team match, one that was advertised and was delivered upon, and that was the Street Profits going up against the Wyatt Six, trying to get the tag team gold back. Now, this is a match we've seen quite a lot recently, as we touched on the watch along, and we were really kind of wondering where did they go with this. The fans in Perth had been treated to some great things already on SmackDown, and it continues for this show, as we'll get to with the rest of the stream. But we weren't sure, would they get a title change? Would they get the long-awaited, rumoured turn from one of the members of the Street Profits? They got neither. But what they did get was quite a swerve in itself. First of all, a fun match, got to say that. It was quite well put together. But it's another one that ends in shenanigans, and I know sometimes that can be a bit too much, Lucas, but I'm going to let him off on this occasion because I think it was well done. It ended with the MFTs showing up and going after the winners of the match, I must say, the Wyatt Six. Now, there was a notable kind of absence here, and we're not sure at this stage why that was. Uncle Howdy, Bo Dallas, wasn't in attendance, it would seem. They made the entrance without him. Nikki Cross took on the leader of the pack, if you will, role from the absent Bo, and was holding the lantern, did all that kind of business, got involved on the outside and kind of tried to attack B-Fab. And then at the end of it was the representation for the group who stepped up in front of the leader of the MFTs, face to face with Solo. Now, if it's simply Bo Dallas isn't around this week for whatever reason, and let's hope it isn't anything personal or anything like that. If it is just that, and they needed, as I said earlier on the stream, something to kind of be that visual for next week of like they went face to face, but then you had the leaders face to face. If there is no leader in Bo Dallas, Uncle Howdy, as you rightly said on the stream itself, Nikki Cross is a pretty good replacement. So what were your thoughts on the match and kind of where it ended and what it kind of led to? Because it was not relating to Street Profits at all in the end.
Yeah. So this does seem to be one of those bigger picture moments, potentially, where we're going to get something big between the MFTs and the Wyatts, which I'm here for. I think that, we did touch upon in the match, actually. I don't think Eric Rowan's had a match, since this whole comeback's happened. And they haven't found a way to utilise, obviously, even Nikki Cross in the ring as well. But we just made the question, obviously, with the MFTs not having a female member, we have to imagine Nikki Cross wouldn't be maybe in the ring as part of anything they do going forward, which sucks because I think she's very underrated. But the match itself, look, like I touched upon, I think that they just work well together, these two teams, and they were tasked to put on a good match, and it just seemed that they have again parked the Street Profits thing, but it may lead to something down the line, but it would have felt. I think we're always just geared up to it always being like in these big championship matches where it falls apart. But I guess the bigger picture is the MFTs against the Wyatts. And we've seen this previously, like, when we had, when the Wyatts were doing stuff against like the ECW originals a few years ago, or when they even teased the most big tease they did tease, when the Wyatts went against the Shield, which was huge. That was a huge thing. And I think that the fact they've got so many groups, it only makes sense that the groups kind of do face off each other against each other, kind of thing, at some point, because it seems that sometimes there's not that connectivity, because even like you take Raw, Judgment Day, and Division, there's no mention of the other ones and what they're doing, which may be intentional, but it is just a bit weird, particularly when you have to imagine that most groups form because they have championships in mind, and they have championships in another group. Why does it automatically mean you don't go after it?
Yeah, and if you're in another group, just like if you're a wrestler or that's solo or a tag team, you're looking at those comparisons all the time. So I want to be the best solo wrestler. I want to be the best tag team. So like, imagine being in the Judgment Day, and people always bring up the Wyatts or the MFTs. Just thinking in character now, you are always going to think we're the best group in WWE. Yeah. So at some point, you need to face off and prove that, right?
Yeah, but that's not. I think what makes it interesting too is that the Wyatts, they're baby. But we keep forgetting that they are baby faces. They are booked to baby faces. And obviously they've got the big Halloween deal this year, haven't they, with Universal? And I think that's probably adding to their popularity at the moment as well. So they'd be silly not to present them as baby faces going forward. And this is the way to basically make sure they are baby faces, because the MFTs are very much villains.
Maybe that's where we go with this, because the MFTs attacking. More so Sammy, but of course Nakamura in that as well. We're thinking, could that be a War Games thing? Is it Is it against the Bloodline again? Or is this it? Or maybe not. Maybe because, as you say, the Halloween thing, we've got Saturday Night's main event is November the 1st. So very much in Halloween season, if not on the day itself. The day before, actually, the Smackdown is going to be in the same place. That's going to be on Halloween. So there will be a Halloween Smackdown this year, you would imagine, theme-wise. So maybe this just goes to that. And then the MFTs do go back to the Sami Zayn thing for Survivor Series.
Potentially, but I mean, I'm more inclined and interested in them not going backwards. I mean, the problem we've had in the last couple of years is they keep going backwards. It's going to get to the point where I just feel we're going to walk into Brock and Roman being at main event wrestling again.
God.
I mean, it's going to get
talk about going back to the well, yeah.
Where we're going to end up again.
Yeah.
And I just think we need to stop doing that. We need to embrace the fact that we've got new people, we've got like new storylines that we can tell, and kind of just go with it. And I would prefer if the MFTs take the tag belts over Solo getting the US belt back. I think that'd be a better presentation.
Yeah.
I think Sami Zayn's doing a great job at the moment. I potentially see what they might do is a tag, because obviously they've returned Shinsuke basically as a de facto babyface in this. They could do the first tag match with the MFTs could be against Sami Zayn and Shinsuke Nakamura potentially.
Yeah.
Which then could end either. Probably does need to end with the MFTs winning. Most likely pinning Shinsuke, I guess. But then obviously after the match, having the Wyatts kind of come out, to not make the save per se, but to get in their face, and that could be the setup. That would be enough basically to set up the match, really. And whatever it's going to be, whether I don't know how. Again, it's a weird one because there's 5 members of MFTs, and there's obviously 5 people in the Wyatts. But obviously, one of them is Nikki Cross. But there definitely should be at least a 4-on-4. I think that exists as part of this.
Yeah.
We shall see. But what I like this is good because even if you then break it down, like you've got a few weeks to go. Like you could even break this down into either smaller tag matches or even into singles matches, and so you can have the stables represented, and not run out of fresh matches for a few weeks. Just give them TV time. Like it's
and it's a great example of like people that haven't really interacted together at all. Yeah. So whether you do it 1-on-1, 2-on-2, or the stable versus a stable, like you said, there's a lot of everything is fresh within this, and if they do somehow bring a woman into it,
wing gimmick, and it's like will be some sort of street fight, some type of thing. Yeah, but it's a nice fun match. It's a nice, just fun thing to do. That will exist. It gets you, like I said, it gets you fresh matches, fresh faces on the show. It's not involved. I'm saying the tag titles are involved, but it involves the tag titles. But actually, it's actually even better. It involves tag belts actually, because tag belts do need to be featured as well as obviously the other belts.
Mm.
And then you can just keep Sami Zayn doing what he's doing. I think he's very much one of the best parts of the show at the moment. Doing open challenges and stuff, and building up to, someone who to answer that challenge and to win the championship off him, which is what I would be. That should be the end goal, really, with that.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that because before you came on air on the watch along, I was saying the same thing. I was like, do we end this with an open challenge? Do we end it with a surprise opponent open challenge, or does he lose the title in a feud like you normally would? Do you think it would be in a surprise and open challenge sort of thing?
I think it's got an open challenge.
Yeah, to keep up the theme of what this whole, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. You put this risk out there. At some time, it's going to bite you, and you're going to lose because of it. Yeah. Okay.
I think it's one or two people.
Who do you reckon?
See, he keeps getting swerved this, but
he's on the other show, mate.
No, I'm between one or two people. I think it's probably the one I think it's less likely now, just because they've had a long time to call him up and haven't. Was Tony D'Angelo.
Yeah.
But I know he was flirting more towards the Raw brand of things.
Okay. Well, I think I know where you're going with the other one now.
You know where I'm going. It's got Obafemi.
I should have guessed. Yeah, I can see it. Actually.
Sami Zayn's a perfect person for him to debut against as well.
Yeah.
Selling the story.
I can see that.
He just works. Well, he just works well against anyone anyway.
Yeah.
He's fresh off such a good run on NXT. I think he won't, again, like I said about Stephanie being one of those handful. He's there, Trick's there. Just people who they're already there. Like,
yeah.
The crowd are already behind him. They already will want it, and it will just create like a different vision because you found a rarity in Oba where you found like a big guy who would do all the big spots but can work your big matches, which they've not really had. Do you know what I mean? Because Braun Strowman, big guy, could do big spots, but you give him 15-20 minutes to pay with you, like he can't do it. But Obafemi, he's proven, the amount of people he's faced.
Yeah, I do wonder as well if they also benefit from, because I think the connection between NXT and WWE's main roster isn't quite what it was when NXT was the black and gold brand, as far as people knowing who people are, because it's not as watched as it once was.
Yeah.
But I do think that because of Obafemi's look, he's the one person you could probably bring in from NXT. Even if you've never seen him before, you go, oh, I believe this. He could beat Sami Zayn on his debut. Do you know what I mean? Like that, because they could hype him up. Look at this big guy who's champion in NXT, and like Michael Cole sells it, or whoever it is on commentary sells it to you. And even if you're unaware of Obafemi, it will do wonders essentially. And I think it'll still work.
For me, he's one that you just cannot flub. We touched upon earlier, obviously, something we forgot to mention actually that happened on SmackDown. They did feature The Miz doing a promo.
Yeah, that was the next thing actually, yeah.
And Carmella Hayes is one where I think they have just kind of let slip a little.
Oh, 100%.
Not a little, a lot.
100%. Even this we talked about earlier on, they pulled the trigger, seemingly at least at this moment in time, too early on that split. But yeah, let's kind of get to that. Actually, there was a backstage segment, Kathy Kelly chatting to The Miz, and The Miz basically prolonged that feud a little bit more by basically saying, I can't believe I saw something in you and you decided to turn on me. So we didn't really get much progression there. It was kind of trotting to the next spot. They also showed a kind of recap of what happened. Again, we alluded to earlier on a kickoff where Seth Rollins just walked out of the Crown Jewel kickoff show, didn't actually speak. So again, we'll hold back our opinions on Seth Rollins and what it means for his kind of vision and that match when we do our weekend kickoff show, and of course on the build-up show on the day of the PLE itself as well. Let's move into what was the main event. Again, we weren't really sure because they kind of hinted that we might see this women's tag team title match, but no, we didn't. But we did get we still don't know when that is at the moment. But we did. As a main event, though, we got something that was advertised at least, and it definitely, became known it was the main event when the clock was ticking down. We got a very fun one. It was a last man standing match. In many ways, paint by numbers, really, when it comes to last man standing. You mentioned it on the watch along. There are the kind of, routine things that they do in last man standing matches before they get to the actual 9s and eventually the 10. But a fun match, typical stuff, gimmick, walking around the ring, using all different kind of weapons, some really, really fun spots. Damian Priest hitting 2 razor's edges on the announce table where Black, I believe, got off at 8 and then 9, just that little bit more, and used the table to kind of get leverage, as we kind of talked about on the show itself. They went up by the stage, didn't do much around it, but at least they kind of featured it a little bit. And just a lot of stuff outside the ring. It ended, though, with a fantastic spot where they were fighting. And we debated, didn't we, about what we thought the end could be. And I had predicted, a big spot where they go through some sort of like production thing. That's what happened. But it wasn't as straight cut as that, guys. They had a bit of flair to it, kind of, pardon the pun. They were fighting right next to the crowd, and we'll say it now in our instant kind of reaction, even though it's an reaction review, when we were actually instantly talking about it as it happened. You'll see that me and Lucas were a little bit concerned that maybe it was a little too close to the fans, because there was a fire spot. And but you'll also notice that when we were talking about it before the spot happened, Lucas in particular noticed that some of the fans were very animated, basically. And then after the spot, when I said I was concerned that they did that so close to the fans, we started looking a little bit further, and the fans looked very, very animated, and were all wearing conveniently positioned merch as well. So I'm assuming they were all plants, Lucas, but it doesn't take away from the fact that it was an incredible visual. And so they should have been plants, by the way. I really hope they are plants, as in planted members of the audience, not plants themselves, for anyone that didn't watch it and doesn't know what I'm talking about. It's not an Alan Titchmarsh thing or anything like that. But yeah, basically what happened was Zelina Vega come out of the audience. So again, probably another reason why it was plants, because she just walked casually in front of all these fans, climbs over, convinces Damian Priest not to do it. And they've got history, right, as well. I'm thinking on there, they had a bit of, I'm sure there was a bit of history between, am I thinking?
Who?
Damian Priest, yeah. Did they have something on? Anyway, maybe not. But the point was, we now see on air she's aligned with Aleister Black, and I'm very excited about where we can go with that in the future, because Aleister's return wasn't quite hitting the way I hoped it would. So they pulled the trigger on this, which I'm happy to see. Zelina come out slightly more kind of vampiress looking in her makeup, kind of aligned a little bit more with Aleister Black. She's always been alternative looking, don't get me wrong, but this really kind of felt a little bit more aligned with Aleister Black's character. He was getting something, as you rightly pointed out, from her boot, it seems, and then played the old kind of typical, I'm just a poor little bad guy, please don't attack me, Damian, before throwing a flame into the face of Damian Priest. And I've got to watch it back, but from watching it live and the quick replay they showed, it looked like it actually hit his face. Like, I know these are carefully done and it's kind of just tricks and stuff like that, but these things can go wrong. So I hope he doesn't have singed eyebrows, is what I'm saying, or anything beyond that. But a very striking visual to end the show, and one that I felt was a great way to end a really fun show, and also just made me straight away go, what happens next? And that's what you want in wrestling, right? That's what you want in storytelling. What were your thoughts on the kind of the match itself and this kind of crescendo we got at the end with the flamethrower?
Yeah, look, the match itself, it did at first. It was playing very much by the numbers for these kind of things. Obviously, like my Sunday matches in WWE kind of tend to go a familiar way, and we got that quite a lot. I like the stage and the interaction with the stage. I believe that most likely going to be cut off for the international broadcast because it was during the advert.
Yeah, it was.
But there's some nice bits in there. They use the steps quite a lot in there as well. Doing the table spot twice was cool, and I do like the fact they're not doing as many table breakages as they used to. It does make a bigger deal of them when they do happen, and we did see kind of sort of table spot, to be fair. The finish was basically through tables or
true,
whatever it's meant to be. But I thought that, because I'm thinking this, because obviously during gaps in the broadcast, we did get a couple of adverts pop up, and during one of them, obviously, Zelina Vega was in them. I wasn't say it on the stream, but I just we moved on to other stuff by then. But I was thinking, what's happened to her? She kind of was US champion and decided she didn't want to be it anymore, basically. Didn't want to fight for it anymore. And then, but it seems like this is the reason why. And I think this is the right way forward. But we have got a situation now where it's 2-0 against Damian Priest. So you have to imagine there will be a third match, potentially.
Yeah.
Damian Priest would most likely be the victor of, but I think it's positioned Aleister Black in a very, very good spot here.
Yeah, he can afford to lose now.
Yeah, but I think that we're now building. Yeah, if we build up a third one, Priest probably should win that.
Yeah,
a bit of cred back, so to speak. And I think it makes sense aligning Zelina with her husband, because I'm not the biggest fan of Aleister Black's promos, but I think Zelina Vega is very, very good on the microphone. And another thing that this feud hasn't gotten enough stuff in front of the crowd. A lot of it's been obviously backstage segments and all that kind of stuff. And I think Zelina Vega is someone who you can definitely position to do a promo in front of the crowd.
Yeah.
Would have been her strongest point. And potentially, you know what? It does have the Karrion Kross Scarlett vibes.
It does.
Considering obviously, what had happened with that. It does kind of fall into that kind of vibe. And so it'll be interesting seeing how they present it going forward. But yeah, I thought it was a good way to end SmackDown. But similar to Raw, which I also felt was a good episode, it's just not the best go-home show in a weird way. But it seems like go-home shows are now potentially, I don't know if the company even see them as go-home shows anymore. Potentially they just don't. But it's definitely different from what we're used to. We saw 1, 2, 3, I think 3 wrestlers that are part of tomorrow's show.
Yeah, true. And you mentioned it earlier on the watch along. We've kind of talked about it before, but they almost feel like day ones of some of these PLEs. So, like I said, it was different stories. Yeah, there was a bit of selling Crown Jewel. Don't get me wrong, but it felt like a very good standalone SmackDown in itself. So that kind of brings us towards the end, actually. So we should probably get to rating the show. Ash says, is it over yet? Yes, SmackDown is in the books. We are here just reviewing it now. If you haven't watched it, watch it, guys, and use us as your watch-along experience as well. If you didn't join us for the watch-along, go back to the beginning of that stream, line us up, and we'll kind of talk you through it anyway. But yeah, a very, very fun SmackDown. If you had to rate it, what would you give it, mate? Out of 10. I'm going to go early with this one. I think I'd give it probably an 8. I think it was one of the better SmackDowns I've seen in a long, long time. And I'm very, very pleased to say that for an international show, especially.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. I'm going to say 7.5, 8. I think it was a strong show, very strong crowd. I kind of just wish we either saw another kind of G for Crown Jewel in ring, or just another match. I think that would also been a good thing. I think having 4 matches is still a bit, for me, it's still a bit like, come on.
Yeah.
We've got a big roster here to feature. But yeah, no, it was good. I mean, I can't say there was a bad match or a bad segment, really. Just kind of wish we'd on something else, in front of the crowd. I'm not too much of a fan of everything being backstage. I think, people are paying a lot of money now.
Yeah.
And I don't want watching a screen when I'm sat there paying, God knows what it is, even for nosebleeds. But no, I think in terms of the episode standalone, that I will actually go 7.5 because I think that the episode alone probably deserves an 8 or maybe an 8.5. But I think just it being a go home episode.
Yeah, I guess.
You're gonna see it tomorrow.
True.
Just lowers it a little bit but I think a very strong episode. And just for context, guys watching, I think literally anything SmackDown's done pretty much post Mania to now, outside of a couple of episodes, has pretty much been below 5 for me. So yeah, it's not been good.
Yeah. So it's a big jump in quality.
It's a big jump in quality, and Raw as well. I think it's been really good the past couple of weeks.
All right, well that has been our instant reaction review. Well, that was our instant reaction review, and we are now here back live on the build-up show. Hope you enjoyed that recap of Friday Night SmackDown. I thought it was a really enjoyable show, as I said. Apologies for the start of the show. I know there's a few technical difficulties with my microphones. I hope you can hear me okay now. But thanks for those sticking by. And great to see some familiar faces popping up in the comments and some new ones as well. Keep them coming. And again, as always, when we play these replays, I'm back in the background, lurking, replying to your comments as well. And on the live sections, we'll go through some of our favourites. Now, you saw there, myself and Lucas were going over Friday Night SmackDown. Afterwards, as you would have seen in that stream as well, we also talked about our weekend kickoff stream where we went into what we actually think is going to happen at Crown Jewel itself. And of course, that's what we're here for at the moment. After all, this is the Crown Jewel build-up show. If you are unfamiliar with us here at Rebellious Noise, what we do on the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel is on the day of a PLE, which it is at the moment, or the night of a PLE, as it usually is, we get you hyped up and in the mood for the big show by talking last-minute rumours, by talking predictions, and we kind of get our everything out before the show eventually starts. We take you all the way up to the start of the PLE itself, and we often have friends from the wrestling media world on here as well. As you'll notice, though, this show is at a strange time, right? I keep saying it. Those out in the States watching very early in the morning. Us here in the UK, it's going to be early afternoon, so it's 10:45 a.m. at the moment. I've got my cup of tea ready to enjoy as well. But yeah, it's a good opportunity for us to kind of do different stuff when it comes to the channel, and we can cover events in a slightly different way. Of course, doing it earlier. We did a watch along for Smackdown yesterday, as I say. We're going to try and do the same for Monday Night Raw tomorrow as well, or Monday afternoon Raw, as I maybe should call it now. Casper says, I can't watch AEW PLE, been watching the weekly shows on ITVX. Need some new stars, though. I do like Kyle Fletcher, TNT champion on AEW. And heard people slating the Death Riders, but I love John Moxley in AEW. It was also good to see Andrade back in AEW. You did enjoy that? Yeah, that was kind of out of nowhere, wasn't it? Obviously, he was let go by WWE, and people knew that was the case, but it happened very quickly. It was kind of like a Monday Night Wars type situation, wasn't it? So, but yeah, we are not too far away from Crown Jewel now. It's again coming to you live from Perth, Australia. So really excited to see what they do for Crown Jewel's kind of, I guess, legacy. It's a different time now. Of course, it usually is in Saudi Arabia. It's moved from there, and the presentation, I'd imagine, is going to be a little bit different to what we usually see from Crown Jewel for that reason as well. But myself and Lucas went into that topic in more detail on last night's weekend kickoff show, and we decided to hit you with a few kind of zingers as far as predictions go as well. So hopefully you'll enjoy this, because what we're going to do now is we are going to play our weekend kickoff show that, again, we recorded last night, Friday evening almost. Again, because time zones are so strange at the moment for wrestling shows. And you see our original predictions. Again, I'm going to be lurking in the background, checking out the chat and things like that, replying to the comments. And then when we come back live, we'll go deep into it. We'll talk last minute rumors and all that kind of fun stuff as well. Keep your comments coming in. Again, I'll be replying, but also bringing up some of our favorites when we get back to the live section of the show, which we're going to do right after the weekend kickoff. And here we go. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. My name is Scott, and we are here for what is the kickoff to what looks to be a fun weekend of pro wrestling coming from Perth, Australia. We've already got Smackdown in the books. We'll be touching on a few of the big stories to come out of that, and of course the Raw Go Home show as well, and how it affects Crown Jewel, also live from Perth, Australia this weekend. We're going to be doing that and breaking down the card in general and all our predictions right after this.
Welcome to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. On this channel, we bring you some great content from inside and outside of the squared circle. We will go through and offer some in-depth analysis of the biggest events of the year, as well as bringing you exclusive interviews with some of the industry's biggest names. There will also be live show reviews, in-depth features, and podcasts. So make sure you give that subscribe button a slam so you don't miss any of the action.
All right, once again, welcome back to the channel, guys. It's a fun stream to be doing. It always is, doing these weekend kickoff shows, getting us hyped up and ready for the big event before the day kind of comes around, and we hit you with the build-up show with exactly the same kind of hopes there as well. Of course, on the build-up show, we'll be talking last-minute rumors and last-minute predictions, but we are, at time of recording, just under a day away, essentially, from the PLE itself, here for the weekend kickoff show, and trying to kick it off in style, really, as WWE themselves have done. Of course, they've done their own kickoff show. Apologies for not doing a stream for it this time around. We just didn't really get around to that. But what we did manage to do was have a watch-along experience for Smackdown. So we are going to cover Smackdown here as well. Of course, at time of recording, Smackdown has happened, but it's not been shown officially, at least in the United States. So if you managed to watch it on a VPN, then congrats, or if you live outside the States, and also congrats, because you've probably seen Smackdown at this point. But if you're watching this and you don't want Smackdown spoilers, hey, go away, watch SmackDown, and come back because we're going to be talking about things in reference to that as well. But SmackDown was a very, very fun show. I've given you the warning, guys. Hop out if you haven't seen it and you're bothered by spoilers. But it was a very, very fun show. And also, if you want to know our thoughts kind of instantly out of that, you'll also see the instant reaction review on this very channel for SmackDown itself. But yeah, let's get into what looks to be a very, very fun show this weekend. I'm going to be talking to Lucas throughout this stream in a little bit of time as well, and he'll be here also giving his thoughts and opinions on the kind of build towards Crown Jewel, what Crown Jewel being in Australia means, what the Crown Jewel championships have in store for them going forward. That was a bit of a mouthful for no reason, and also just kind of the show itself, what to expect from it now that it is in a different country. And yeah, the card's quite good. I'm actually really impressed by it. And I was very impressed by SmackDown, as I say. If you haven't seen it yet, you're in for a good show. Very, very enjoyable show. I'm hoping it's going to be the same for Crown Jewel in Perth, but let's run through the card and the matches that are hopefully going to deliver a great show overall. We've got a Crown Jewel Championship match, of course, in the women's division. It's the WWE Women's Champion Tiffany Stratton going up against World Champion Stephanie Vaquer. Of course, on SmackDown they teamed up, but they are going against each other for the much larger championship title, larger in size, not maybe so much in prestige, but again, we'll touch on that in a little bit at Crown Jewel for the Crown Jewel Championship, of course. We are also going to see Big Bronson Reed, of course, Australian himself, hopefully have a good showing against the big dog Roman Reigns. I'm really looking forward to seeing this and the reception that I expect Bronson Reed to get come Saturday afternoon for us here in the UK. It's going to be 1 p.m. in the UK. Also, we're going to see Rhea Ripley, again, also Australian, and Io Sky face off against Io's old running buddies in Asuka and Kairi Sane. A really interesting feud, this one here. Yeah, looking forward to seeing where this goes, because I think there's a few kind of potential swerves that could come up in this one. So we'll see what Lucas has to say about that later on as well. Then we've got John Cena versus AJ Styles. Apparently, for the last time ever, now Cena's dates are getting fewer and fewer, and this, of course, is his final year. AJ Styles, though, did also talk about how next year will be his final year, and I really appreciate that on the Kickoff show. He did the old beat up John Cena quote as well, so that's quite fun. Looking forward to a fun match there as well. Then we've got Cody Rhodes, the WWE champion, going up against World Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins in another Crown Jewel Championship match. Who's coming out on top on that one? We'll have to wait and see. But again, my predictions, I'm going to unload them here on this very stream. And as I said earlier on, I'm going to be joined by Lucas to do much of the same as well. But yeah, looking forward to this show. I am really intrigued by the fact that they've moved Crown Jewel to Australia, as we kind of touched on a little bit in the SmackDown watch along. It is quite interesting how they've moved it from Australia. Yeah, Australia last time also got Elimination Chamber, and now Elimination Chamber has also been in Saudi Arabia as well. So interesting to see, how they seemingly kind of, I guess, position these shows and rank them internally, because if they're willing to move, they moved Money in the Bank to London as well, but if they're willing to move Elimination Chamber twice, that's quite interesting. And if they're willing to now move Crown Jewel, a very Saudi Arabian event, it's been the case ever since the first one, it's been their event, right? That's now moved to Australia. Now you could think, hold on, the old monarchy theme, maybe they could have played into the Crown Jewel a little bit more if they came to the UK. Yes, Australia part of the Commonwealth and all that, but let's not get too much into politics and royalty. But what I'm saying is the kind of the theme of it, much like Clash at the Castle, a little while ago, about a year or so ago, I think me and Lucas were talking on the channel about how you could move Clash to so many different places because they have historical kind of, I guess, royal legacies and castles and stuff like that. And then they move it to Paris and they don't even bother with a castle name. They just go straight out with Clash in Paris. So yeah, it is interesting to see how they use these PLE IPs now. But yeah, we are in many ways in new territory when it comes to the WWE. The old guard is gone, certainly, and Triple H is been on, at the helm for quite some time now, but then you've also got the changes with TKO, and they're constantly kind of tweaking things, it feels, as well. So really interesting just to see kind of what they picture as their kind of premium live events. Obviously WrestleMania is at the top, but then even that, it's recently just been announced to go to Saudi Arabia. So it really is kind of a bit of merry-go-round at the moment for PLEs, and I think that's kind of a good thing. Yes, there are things to be debated about all of these points to a certain degree, but as far as like PLEs can just happen anywhere, I'm pretty cool with that, and I'm really looking forward to seeing kind of what next big PLE breaks out of North America, for example. That sounds like I'm against the Americans getting their traditional shows. It's not that, but again, it was really exciting when Money in the Bank came to London. Really exciting when Elimination Chamber first went to Australia, and really exciting seeing that Crown Jewel has now moved away from Saudi Arabia as well. Talking of exciting, I am very excited to announce that we are about to bring Lucas onto the stream as well. Again, you would have seen Lucas earlier on today on the Smackdown watch along and the Smackdown instant reaction review. Again, if you haven't seen it already, make sure you go and watch that. You'll see exactly what we thought of that show. But again, here we go. Let's bring in Lucas and see what he has to say about Crown Jewel. How you feeling, mate? You excited?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to be able to watch a show properly live tomorrow, but it falls in the middle of the day here in the UK. But I'm partly excited. I've got a lot to say about the show as a whole. As I actually think, annoyingly as well, I think SmackDown today being good has actually spotlighted a problem for me with Crown Jewel. I think it's good, but I don't think it's as good as it could be.
Right. So the thing is, for me, SmackDown being so good is like really helped hype me up for Crown Jewel. So, but maybe I'm going to be stung by that. So, what are your thoughts then?
I think the problem is like WrestlePalooza, like it wasn't the best, and I don't know if they've really made any adjustments again, because again we're sitting here talking about a 5-match card, with no title matches. Look, they can say what they want.
Yeah, true. Yeah, other than
they're just a favour to Saudi Arabia.
Well, CM Punk seemed a bit confused by that. Did you notice on Raw when he was like, jab it? Yeah.
They're not me defender, they're just rings that they get, and and the thing is, there's a lot of good story elements that can come from this, and obviously a lot of comments. Obviously, I'm reading a lot of comments obviously online about what some fans think the direction will go, and there's several different options for it. But I just think, particularly after today, it feels weird today on SmackDown.
Yeah.
SmackDown, seeing the other divisions get spotlighted there, it just makes you realise kind of what's missing from the PLE. And I've still checked. There's still no confirmation about this women's tag match: Zarya Salruka versus Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair. Like, I mean, at this point, I don't know. Are they going to just announce it on the day? Maybe
it would be great if it was on Crown Jewel. So for those unaware, on SmackDown they had a little backstage thing where they basically agreed to a match, but they didn't tell us where. So we were like, on this show or on Crown Jewel or next week, who knows? They haven't kind of announced it, but yeah, it would be nice if they added it on, because as you say, at the moment it's that typical 5-match card thing. But you raise a good point. I mean, there are no title matches other than the Crown Jewel Championship matches themselves, and again, we'll go into each match in depth and talk about the build and talk about where we see it going after this, and of course the results we'll predict as well. Look, I'm sure we touched on it a bit last year when they first announced these Crown Jewel Championships anyway. But I do want to kind of get your perspective on it a year later. Now, I want to say I did, and as I mentioned on the watch along, I really appreciated, which I'm sure they'll show at Crown Jewel as well, that promo video of them going to collect the titles, and they made it seem like a big deal. And they did the similar kind of thing last year. They really hyped up how grand the design was of the championship titles themselves. But it really fit in my opinion, with Crown Jewel as an event, and well, it's still a Crown Jewel, don't get me wrong, but Saudi Arabia, the whole kind of excess of kind of money and all this kind of stuff. That's what I thought it was all about. And I thought it was about them kind of creating something for Saudi Arabia to be like, you get the real champion, the champion versus champion, because we've seen how they've kind of placated into some of the, rumored requests from Saudi Arabia in the past for some of their shows, the early ones, all the rumors about the legends they wanted, all that kind of stuff. And who knows what WrestleMania is going to be like. So this felt like, and the whole greatest Royal Rumble, this felt like another example of that. And yet, as soon as they do that, they move Crown Jewel away, but they keep the concept, because before that, they toyed around with King and Queen of the Ring, again, because of the kind of theme of their royal family. So I thought, okay, that makes sense. And then I thought, no, they've settled on it. Last year, I felt like they'd settled on it. And I'm really intrigued by the fact they've moved it away from that. But I mean, I do like it as a concept, but there are always flaws when it comes to champion versus champion. Someone's going to look bad. And the problem is, we all know, we got to be honest, that at the moment, the world title, let's talk about the men, for example, the world title is the secondary championship. That's no offense to Seth Rollins or anyone that's held that title, but it's presented in that way. So for that reason, and we'll get to predictions, I think Seth should probably win. But at the same time, I do like the idea of it, and I like the ring. I like the presentation. Like they give someone a special ring and stuff like that, and it's like almost like a final, like a King of the Ring final, or if you compare it to football, like the Super Cup or something like that. The Champions League versus the Europa League winner, or those, or the Community Shield, where the FA Cup and the Premier League winner. It's kind of seen as a glorified friendly, but also somewhat a measure of kind of the best in the world. Sort of, but not really, because the actual titles are taken more seriously. So what are your thoughts on kind of the presentation of it, as I say, and kind of how that's kind of mixed in with Saudi, but not so much anymore, and also what it means for booking, simply?
The presentation is wonderful. The booking around it is not, though, because you touched upon something there, that it's King of the Ring we've had. Who was in the King of the Ring final this year? Cody Rhodes. Who's in the Crown Jewel match this year? Cody Rhodes. Who was in the Crown Jewel match last year? Cody Rhodes. Who was champion last year? Cody Rhodes. Like, you have to at some point just move things on.
Yeah.
And I fear that, the biggest problem that's happened in the past, in the Triple H era, is that almost everything has been made exclusively for the top guys and girls to be part of. So things that previously would be for mid-card acts or a breaking through act to be a part of, like Money in the Bank.
Yeah.
All have just gone to main event talent. Like, why did Drew McIntyre need a briefcase? There was no reason. The only reason it existed was so that he could continue to feud with CM Punk. But could we have done something else? Yes. Like anything. You got two main event talents that are over the crowd. Like, you could have furthered that feud, but not involved Money in the Bank. At that point, you wasted Money in the Bank. That year for the men, and it meant that no one else was able to break through for it. And then you had to obviously wait a whole other year for someone else to win. And who wins? Seth Rollins.
Yeah.
A guy who already is a main event star. And we've seen this happen with the Rumble as well. Like, and even that, and then King of the Ring. Like, King of the Ring traditionally used to be like the stepping stone of people, like your Bret Harts, like Edge, like not so much Billy Gunn, but it could have been. Who knows? There's still a universe out there. Could have been. But it was made. It was stuff that was made for the mid card guys.
Yeah.
Very much so. And even the Chamber, it went from. It's gone from it has featured obviously other championships as part of it at some point, but now it's gone to solely being number one contenders for WrestleMania, which means that it de facto has to feature the biggest people in the company. That's why you'd see CM Punk and John Cena this year in the Chamber as the final two. Two near 50-year-old men, competing for, a shot at a championship, held by a 40-year-old. Like it just counter it, yeah. But I think in terms of Crown Jewel and it moving to Australia, I think it does just show that the Saudis are definitely coming after the main pay-per-views of the WWE. And well, they've already got two of them. They've got Rumble next year and they've got WrestleMania in 2027. So one would have to imagine they're going to want SummerSlam. They're going to want proper shows now. I think this is the move now. I don't know whether they have seen the fact that potentially the shows they've been given from a fan perspective are being treated like, house shows or B-level shows, even though they pumped a lot of money.
I'd say not so much anymore. The past few years, they've definitely felt more part of the adult storylines and kind of...
Yeah, but I think there's still, from some fans, there's still that, it's a Saudi show.
Yeah, so almost you think by moving Crown Jewel, so I never really thought of that, they kind of shake the stigma of what a Saudi show is, even though it's not in Saudi. They move it to give weight to what the Crown Jewel name is.
Yeah, but let's
not in Saudi. So that when they get other things in Saudi, they also still feel important.
Yeah, but weirdly though, don't forget that this actually happened the other way around before, didn't it? because Super Showdown was an event that was the original Australian PLE that took place.
Yeah,
In
they really have traded
and then
PLEs.
that went to Saudi the next year.
Yeah.
That Super Showdown in like February, the one that Ricochet lost to Lesnar in about 5 seconds.
Yeah.
So maybe it's just a bit of a receipt.
Yeah, and I mentioned earlier on, Elimination
Years
Chamber
down
has
the
been
line.
traded between the two as well. So
Chamber as well. But in terms of the Saudi deal, obviously, it's a very it's always a very controversial deal every time you discuss it. And my stance on it has always just been, as a business, they're entitled to go where they want to go. As a business, they are also entitled to take the biggest purse and the biggest gates they want and chase that. And that's literally Tico's motive. And so it makes sense for this relationship to continue. I think that there's been massive leaps though in how things are done. Because I think we'll have to discuss it when we get to the Rumble talk, particularly around the Women's Rumble. And it'll be interesting seeing how that gets presented, because they've got away with obviously only having, the odd women's match on. And then they've moved up to obviously more the 50-50 booking kind of thing, but they haven't got a situation where you have to deal with the fact you're going to have 30 women in there.
It will be different.
Yeah, seeing what happens with that. In terms of Crown Jewel tonight, though, and what we're getting, I think it's good that the belts are continuing, because obviously we had that whole kerfuffle with the Greatest Royal Rumble title, and that belt never got seen again.
Yeah.
It literally never got seen again. That was it. I think it's a good thing. I mean, the thing is, though, what's interesting, Triple H, obviously, he had made an effort to kind of get rid of gimmick pay-per-views, but he's kind of de facto created a different separate one now, a new one. Yeah. Obviously, this now dictates that whoever your two champions are going to have to fight at this event, regardless of any other storyline or anything else that's going on. And going forward, obviously, where it's situated is a difficult one, because we realistically may not see the world, both world titles on the line like too frequently now, until we get into WrestleMania. And I really, really hope falling back into that territory of we're waiting for WrestleMania for someone to beat Cody, because I think the time to do it is actually now. It's actually. Last month there was that big thing. A lot of people were pushing for Drew to win, wanting Drew to win, even though it was only like a month after Cody won the title. But it's because we're literally screaming out for something different, anything to break this mold of SummerSlam, WrestleMania, every single year, because there's a lot of people that deserve it, and obviously, it just seems that, and even when people change brands like Paul LA Knight, like still, it just doesn't feel like he's anywhere near getting that belt.
Yeah, and sticking to that formula also means they miss the boat, like when someone's hot, don't they? Like they had that crazy situation a few years ago where Sami Zayn arguably should have won the title at Elimination Chamber, but a month later they were having the first Cody Roman blow off as well. So it was weird timing. I mean, that's really kind of crazy timing. But there are these examples, like you say, LA Knight, of kind of, well, if you don't want to pull the trigger now because they're not quite at this event, then it's always going to be certain guys that can even get into that match, let alone win that title. Do you know what I mean? So it is a risky move. I mean, what are your thoughts on, again, bringing it back to championships and kind of Crown Jewel? What are your thoughts on, again, it sounds like you like the idea of it being something that's continued, but not maybe taken too seriously. But then it does bring up those challenges of like, well, a champion's going to look bad. And again, it depends on what's going on, and we'll touch on a little bit about who it should be this time around later on. But generally speaking, the World Heavyweight Championship has been the secondary if we're talking about the men's. So do you think, generally speaking, again, not about this, we'll talk about Seth and Cody themselves later on, it's better to try and make whichever title seems like is perceived as the weaker one, if there's any chance to make that look stronger, this is it, right? By at least doing that, because otherwise you are shooting yourself in the foot and going, yeah, they're not this title. That champion's not the real champion. You know what I mean? Because last year was Cody, and it was kind of obvious.
Yeah, I think that's why they have the power to do something quite good at this show. I think to break this mold. I think they need to give it to whoever they feel needs it more. I don't necessarily think it matters about the secondary belt thing, because I could argue from their perspective, they would argue they've got two top champions. And I doubt anyone in WWE would probably be allowed. I know we're not in the Vince days of him throwing stuff about and ripping up scripts and stuff, but I still don't think anyone could confidently walk around in WWE Creative, with a thought process of, oh, we're just booking for the secondary belt now. You know, this goes for the same for the women too. I don't believe that'll be allowed. So I think that in their heads they wouldn't see it as a secondary belt. They see it, well, we've got two champions. One's lose. You know, obviously Crown Jewel, I mean, something they could do, and I think they probably will do. Might even try and lock this in as a prediction for next year. I think they might end up doing it as a mixed tag.
I like that.
The two, so that way you have the two, or even opening it up to like, even if you want to keep it to the same gender tag, it could even open up like the champion gets to pick someone to fight with them.
Yeah, or even the secondary from the same brand.
I'm sorry?
You know, like the secondary one from the same brand, like the US and you know, whatever's aligned. WWE.
Might be the only way that the tag belts get on the show, actually.
Yeah.
Team the world champion of the tag belts.
Yeah. I mean, it's not new territory, is it? I mean, again, linking in with the Saudi shows, again, we know this is in Australia. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a bit. But Night of Champions, you know, it's a age-old concept. It's been used on and off by WWE and WCW over the years and WA. But championships need to be on the line. But sometimes those things, and at Survivor Series as well, bragging rights, all this kind of stuff, they did have champion versus champion on those shows as well. And it still brought up that same risk factor of like making a champ look bad. So they do need to, it depends where they are at booking, but generally speaking, it's not the greatest thing, especially one of those years, as it has been with, as you say, those kind of, what do you call them? Gimmicked pay-per-views where it's like, oh, we have to make this feud turn into one that is needing the Hell in a Cell just all of a sudden. We have to make these guys bleed blue for SmackDown all of a sudden. You know, it is a messy thing where some years it might work in their favor. I don't think it's that bad this year. I don't think this year there's a massive risk that anyone's going to look terrible. But
I'd argue them only being able to put the belt on Stephanie has weakened the women's one a little bit. Because obviously if Stephanie had won the championship at Clash in Paris, and then they could have done a bigger kind of build up to it potentially. But, you know, she only won it a couple of weeks ago at WrestlePalooza.
Yeah.
Which obviously, and it's not really a feud. That's something they've maybe got to get better at. They've got to find a way to make things that they seem to go from. They only seem to be able to do one or two things. It's like people are either buddy with each other on one side, or it's like extreme deathmatch feud. You know, like it needs to be like round. Like I get that Stephanie and Tiffany aren't going to have a massive like blood feud because, with respect, they've had like no prior interaction. They're on different brands, and you know, like. They're both meant to be babyface champions, but it's a case of give us something to like, you know, why do we, you know, like, you know, we have something in the fact that Stephanie only's won the belt and Tiffany's the longest reigning champion. I think she's the longest reigning champion in the company, aren't she? I think, because I have a family lost.
Yeah, and I guess Cody, although it feels like Cody's been champ forever, he did lose the title and get back.
Even Rollins only won it at SummerSlam, so yeah, I think
true.
Running champ, you know, in the company at the moment. But yeah, I feel they don't do enough to build the story, you know, around it. They do well. That's the thing. I think that's what contributes to presentation. The presentation, I think, is done quite well. You know, of this, and it will be done. I imagine it may not be as good as the Saudi presentation potentially because, you know, money. But you know, they tend to do these things quite well. You know, don't they? This whole like presenting a new belt and stuff. And I guess it'll be another excuse, most likely, for Triple H to get himself in front of the crowd.
Like you say, presentation-wise, and we saw a little bit of this on SmackDown as well. That set, you know, was the kind of the duel, and it will look a little bit better. You know, they'll probably highlight that a little bit more on the show itself. But I do like things around it. I like the ridiculously overhyped kind of security thing of the titles. I like the ring thing. I do like that sort of stuff. I also think it's interesting that I know you said, it's Cody again, but it actually works in the favor this time because someone can come in and bring on that prestige of like, I'm still the champ from last year and I want to keep that. So I do quite like that because it's not a continual reign of like, you know, getting it back. It is whoever's on top that year. Again, much like, you know, a Super Cup type thing in football. Let's get to some comments here as well. And we do want to know what you're most looking forward to at Crown Jewel, what you think is going to happen at Crown Jewel. We see we've got Cody Burris in the house. Always good to see you, buddy. Join us over on Twitch. So appreciate those that are joining us there, as well as here on the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling YouTube channel. Says, I need to get up early tomorrow, 5 a.m. for Crown Jewel. See, again, it's crazy, man. Like we were talking about this on SmackDown as well. For us in the UK, SmackDown, Crown Jewel, and Raw all starting at 1 p.m., which is just kind of bizarre. But it means we've been able to give you some extra content around it. So I hope you appreciate that. And look, we appreciate those that are getting up early and tuning into these streams as well. We really do appreciate the support you give us. And of course, your dedication to WWE, which is why we're here in the first place, because we all love this crazy world of pro wrestling. Let's start getting into the card itself, and we'll start with one of those Crown Jewel matches and predicting one of those. Let's start with the women's one. We touched on it a little bit there, of course, Tiffany versus Stephanie. It's going to be an interesting one to see how they go about this, because again, it brings up some of the things we've already mentioned there about which champion you can afford to make look bad. At this very moment in time, I think because she's only just won the title, even though it's not for the title, I would prefer to see Stephanie win. But you could also argue that Tiffany's not had the greatest past few months, right? So maybe she needs a little bit of a shine here as well. I'm really 50-50 on this one, so I'm going to be a little bit of a coward and throw it over to you first, if you don't mind. Tiffany, Stephanie, what do you reckon?
So yeah, I think that it's probably going to be no surprise anyone who watched the instant reaction and now watch along. I think Stephanie Vaquer is a star now, and she needs to win. I think it's quite easy in my head, really. I think that Tiffany's had a very long reign, and yes, there's been some bad booking around that. But I also think some of her performances in the ring haven't been the best, which isn't really down to booking. Like obviously her disappearing and just only appearing backstage has been their decision, which I think is thing. But I think some of that needs to happen. It's actually probably needed to happen for quite a number of months now, potentially since WrestleMania. She needs to turn heel.
100%.
Is a heel. It doesn't make any sense trying to present what she is as a babyface. She got
maybe this is how you do it though, because two respectable baby faces, and then at the end she's a sore loser.
Yeah,
this could be the way to do it.
Yeah, I mean, you can either turn her in the match or you can turn her after the match. I think either one works. But I'd have her just do because especially if they do the whole presentation, don't they? Straight afterwards, I'd have her literally just go into full sore loser.
Yeah, and for on the other side of that, they've been really good in promoting the kind of human side of Stephanie's journey.
Yes.
Her dad, and they even mentioned it on SmackDown. Was it SmackDown on the Kickoff? I saw it Sunday at some point, sometime today. But yeah, I think playing in, maybe this is it. Maybe we've just stumbled into an interesting prediction there that maybe Stephanie does win and Tiffany turns at the end, because you could argue sometimes you want a heel turn to be really clear, like turning on a friend or a very, very babyface character. And I mean, look, I'm saying she is super babyface anyway, but she is still quite new. But I think that freshness will help it. I think Tiffany going, I think you're right. That presentation at the end is a great opportunity to do something like that.
We need these moments back. I think that's what we miss. Like, I don't know. Generally, since WrestleMania, how many of these kind of big moments can we count? It's on one hand or less. Do you know what I mean? Like it's very and it felt as much. I don't want them to go back to Crash TV of the 90s. Where there's car crashes and then someone's having someone's baby and then something else, blah blah. I don't want that level, but I do want this unpredictability factor and something to go, oh, actually, and that's why generally this week's television I think been quite good. I think we're seeing fresh. Go back to what we said about MFTs against the Wyatts earlier. I don't want it to go back to MFTs against Sami Zayn. Like I don't want to go backwards. Like to just move forward. Let Sami Zayn lane. We know he can wrestle. We could wrestle paper bag every single week. It'd be fantastic. Just let him do that. Like let him. Basically, he's got the wrestling title. When I say he's got the wrestling title. There's so many people who are walking around, every single week in catering, and they can all wrestle. And just have him burn through those until you get a time where you want someone to beat him, and you get a good solid especially once you add in the fact that the Brown split's basically dead now. Let's be real. So it could be Raw superstars, it could be NXT superstars, TNA superstars even. There's so many wrestlers basically out there. Just have them do that, and then on the side have the Wyatts and MFTs go at it. And there's so many fresh matches, fresh combinations, and they've got to just not be scared to do it. Is what it feels like. Sometimes it feels like they're just hesitant and reluctant to do things, and they want to keep things just very much because again we'll get to it later on, but obviously in terms of this match, this is a nice fresh match we're getting. For the Crown Jewel stuff, it's very two very fresh faces in this kind of position. Obviously, he's been champion for quite some time. but she hasn't really been spotlighted too much, like as champion. The other championship, on Raw side of things, got spotlighted a lot. I mean, even I'll get one point. I'd say for me, the title wise, Tiffany was pretty much, in terms of the women, at times has been that kind of barely number 2, sometimes even number 3 champion. I think even some of stuff Becky, some of the IC champions.
Oh, 100%.
Has eclipsed anything Tiffany's done.
Yeah.
And and even some of the when they want to present the women's tag titles, good, like they have done with the Charlotte Flair Alexa Bliss tag team, even that. So sometimes I'd argue Tiffany was potentially the least important women's champion, in the company, which is bad. And it mainly it's because of a good booking, but I'm not saying because of her.
Yeah,
booking. But they've got a fresh match here, fresh faces, and I think the way that they could do this, I think a turn could really help it. I think it could stamp it, and it could then shake up the reign of Tiffany Stratton. Challenges, see new matches, new bits and pieces go on, because generally, like, who is left for her to beat?
Yeah, and it's a good way for her to have a reason to turn as well, like without even taking the title off her. And it gives her a new kind of, if they don't want to take the title off her, it gives her a new element there, because she's jealous about something else that hasn't even meant that she lost the belt.
I'd argue it probably then makes going into feud with Jade Cargill a bit easier, if that's what they wanted to do too, because you have a clear-cut villain and a clear-cut babyface.
Yeah.
Then I do believe that the plan should still be to probably put the belt on Jade. And then that can create... I think I'll argue then you've probably got a good situation then, because of what we've seen on SmackDown, we've seen the Vega, now back as a Black, and if that goes a bit further, we see her as a top contender against someone like a Jeff, and that's a match that's made easily, because you've got the big powerhouse babyface against a smaller villain. Still got Julia, kind of James, she's got lots of people, but she's obviously getting those people onto TV, I guess.
Yeah, I'd say, going back to what you said there about Jade Cargill potentially being the successor really for Tiffany's title, I think Tiffany turning on Jade wouldn't go down, because again, they are two baby faces, and it sometimes works, but I think for those characters it's not really been that case for this feud. So having her turn on Stephanie and then going to Jade kind of helps Jade at the same time. So let's get to a few comments here. Matt Ball's in the house. Always good to see him, Matt. Says women's champ versus champ. Didn't the last Crown Jewel match between the women end up with a light finish, i.e. a quick roll-up to keep both looking strong? I think it was something like that. It was Liv Morgan, wasn't it, who won? But yeah, I mean, that kind of plays into what we were saying earlier on about the kind of, the dilemma of how do you, because one of them, that is the solution. But, with this one, as we say, giving it to Stephanie, but then the beatdown from Tiffany kind of helps make her look good, if you will, by looking bad, if that makes sense. He also says, why am I talking into R2D2? At first, when I saw that comment, I was like, what are you talking? And then I realized the microphone kind of looks like R2D2 at this moment as well. Also, can Lucas get any closer to the script? Me and Lucas are about the same, Matt. What are you talking about? He's not. He's the perfect distance, Matt. Don't be. What are you talking about? Yeah, is that what you're saying? You want him closer, or you thought he was too close? Will Lucas be watching the PLE from his local cinema? You know what?
Of course no.
I'd love to see more PLEs in cinemas and things like that. I don't really do that as much these days. But
I swear, View were doing. They've done a couple of the Saudi events.
Because of the timing. I remember, when they first,
and it wasn't very popular. So I guess.
Yeah. But now WWE's more popular. So WrestleMania would be. WrestleMania in Saudi gives a great opportunity for that, because it's WrestleMania and at a reasonable time. Yeah, so all right, we'll see. Watch this space. Maybe we'll put an event on or something like that. Right, anyway, let's get to the next match to predict. I think it's safe to say then we're both going to go with Stephanie Vaquer for the Women's Crown Jewel Championship. Let's move on to the next one, though. Let's talk Big Bronson Reed versus Roman Reigns. Looking forward to this one, because I've enjoyed the feud overall. And I said earlier on, before you jumped on air on the watch-along, it's kind of weird looking at some of these matches and you're like, oh, of course that's what they were setting up all that time ago. Bronson Reed versus Roman Reigns is a feud that's gone on for a while. They face each other within a tag team environment, but also single match as well. But it felt natural for Bronson Reed anyway. Now that you put the blow off, in Australia, you're like, oh yeah, that feud started at the perfect time, really, didn't it? This is the kind of culmination of that, and it's great to see Bronson getting this opportunity in Australia as well. But yeah, prediction wise, I still feel the same as I did at the beginning of the feud, that I think the young guy needs to go over, and I think Bronson needs to win here. But I don't know if that's the case, because how many kind of setbacks can Roman Reigns have as well? He's not had the greatest 2 years, is he? So maybe he needs to start stacking up the wins, and maybe the big hometown reception is enough for Bronson Reed in this environment. What do you think?
It's really hard to call, but I do think that they do need to start giving. I mean, the aura of Reigns is still going to be there, I think, for quite some time. Like he really, as we know, he rebuilt himself through COVID and through that long title reign. But there was always this case. This situation was always going to happen. It was always going to get to the other side of this reign. And like, unless he retired, he would have to just basically go back to being booked normally. And in WWE, you win some, you lose some. But I don't know whether they're going to pull the trigger. It just feels like sometimes with WWE, like the match is the reward. If that makes sense. Or the match is the thing.
Yeah.
To Bronson wrestling in Australia for him is his big thing. And I don't know. Oh, cause I'm trying to remember. So we had at SummerSlam. So at SummerSlam, yeah, Reigns also defeated Breaker and Reed. Reigns also defeated him at Clash in Paris. So we're talking. He doesn't need to win 3 in a row, surely.
No.
But it's all for me though. It's also linked into the main event because obviously it's a vision match.
True, yeah. And weirdly, Heyman, and again we'll touch on this more later on, but weirdly, Heyman has said he's referenced turning on Roman for Seth rather than CM Punk for Seth, which is strange because the Punk Seth thing seems to be a story that goes on forever. So he could have quite easily said, "I turned on both my friends for you," but he specifically said Roman Reigns. So you might be right. This might kind of start leading towards that vision kind of side as well.
Street fights, there has to be a winner. Well, say that we had a Hell in a Cell win in DQ, didn't we? Oh, I'm gonna go with Roman. Yeah, I'll go with Roman. I think that there are still a lot of this is still kind of a house show kind of vibe to this show, and I think because something will happen later on, I'll go with Roman one final time. Yeah, Roman to win.
Wow, 3 straight wins for Roman Reigns. Of course, one of them a tag team match, as you said, but still a big call. Matt says they'll protect Reigns, as Scott says. I think they're a little lost on what's next for Reigns. I agree. It looks like they might be going into the Seth Rollins thing again, but that's what I mean about the past 2 years. Like, as you say, he won those last 2 matches, so it's not like he's under, whatever, but like it's so strange perception, because he's not on top. It feels like it hasn't been a great time for him, but he's still strong. But
I think the problem they have also is they've developed the rule of essentially, if Reigns isn't going to be on something, they have to do a big deal to get him off. So, for example, like they knew he wasn't going to be on WrestlePalooza because it had Brock Lesnar, Cena, so they had to write him off, which was the 3rd time they've written him off this year. To then miss WrestlePalooza, to then return after WrestlePalooza, then be on Crown Jewel. And now it's a case of, is he going to get written up again if he's not going to Survivor Series? You know what I mean? Like, it gets to the point of just have the man just win or lose, and then he just goes away for a little bit. Because everyone else does, to be real. Other people, look at Shinsuke, nothing wrong with him. She just literally disappeared for like 6 months.
How many times can they do Roman Reigns returns to Raw or SmackDown? And it seemed like a big deal anyway. Matt also says, I wonder which Samoan will debut during the street fight for the finish. Yeah, again, good point. It is a street fight. They're not really leaning into that side at the moment, but I get the joke. Don't get me wrong, man. Like it's always a possibility when it comes to Bloodline or Bloodline adjacent members and matches. But I suppose they could lean into, there's a lot of strange stuff going on with Jimmy and Jay at the moment as well. So it's an interesting time for like kind of the top end of the Raw card, because I genuinely couldn't tell you what they're going to do at Saturday night's main event. I genuinely couldn't tell you what they're going to do at Survivor Series. So it is really really hard to predict at the moment. But yeah, going back to this match and what we predict here, I'm gonna go because of the two last Reigns ones. I do want to go Bronson Reed, but I don't know if that's my heart more than my head. Because, like you say, like him coming out in the reception in Australia, that is the reward in many ways. But I also think like if you're serious about Bronson Reed, then you can't be. It's not burying him, but like it ain't great, is it? So I'm gonna go Bronson Reed. Yeah, I'll go Bronson Reed. Just spice it up a little bit. Keep your comments coming, guys. We want to know what you think's gonna happen, what you'd like to see happening as well. Once again, thank you to those that tuned in earlier on for our Smackdown instant reaction review and our watch along. We're also going to be back on the day of the PLE, as we always are with our build-up shows, getting you hyped up and in the mood, talking last-minute rumors and predictions. You may even be watching this stream as a replay on the earlier portion of the build-up show, but this is actually live, of course, on the night before, Friday night. It actually is getting towards the night now, Lucas. It's a bit confusing. My brain's frazzled with all these time frames. Yeah. We watched SmackDown at 1 p.m. here in the UK, so I don't know where we're at. I feel very confused at the moment. But look, we're getting hyped up and in the mood for what looks to be a fun show, Crown Jewel. Again, SmackDown, if you haven't seen it already, very, very much enjoyed by the two of us earlier on. So again, if you haven't already, check out our review. Let's get back more to the subject at hand, though. We've talked about Reigns and Reed. Let's move into a tag team match that's been brewing for quite some time as well. We've got Kairi Sane and Asuka teaming up against Io Sky and Rhea Ripley. Now, the interesting thing here, of course, is the relationship between Io and Asuka and Kairi haven't broken down. This is a story we've actually covered quite a bit on this channel because, again, we don't usually get to do watch-alongs, but thankfully a lot of this story started to kind of bubble under the surface when they were on the European tour, and we did a few kind of watch-alongs and reviews of those shows then. So since then, things have really ramped up, and Io and Rhea are officially buddy-buddy. They're teammates now, and they're going against Io's former friends. Again, it's much like the Bronson Reed situation where I was like, looking back, I'm like, oh yeah, they were sowing the seeds for just a match for Rhea. We knew Rhea was going to have a big match. We just didn't know what it would be. Now it's a tag team match. I did, when watching the Kickoff show, start to wonder, is this just going to be a turn for Io Sky to be heel and say, are you dumb? These are my friends. Like, not you, Rhea. Like, and just kind of, it's that typical storyline. We've seen this before. Like, one example, Stephanie McMahon realizing, you know what, screw Test, I'm actually all right with what Triple H did, or screw Vince trying to look after me. Like it's that kind of storyline where the babyface goes, no, actually I am a bad guy and I agree with everything they say. I could picture that happening here, and especially in Rhea to be embarrassed in her home country and all this kind of stuff. It would be big. Not my only concern, my major concern is that I don't want it to happen. I think Io is so over as a babyface, and this, in my opinion, is her greatest period that she's had. Like, Michael Cole will happily go on record saying at the moment she's the greatest women's wrestler in the world. And I think that kind of praise, along with the fact that she's really won the fans over and started to connect with them in a different way than she's ever done before. I think it'd be crazy to turn her heel at the moment. But we've seen crazy things happen before. So I hope it's not the case, but I would understand the booking in the sense of if they didn't expect it to be that over and just thought, oh, this is a cool story to tell. I do appreciate that. But yeah, that only hit me literally today watching the Kickoff show, that could be where we're heading. But what are your thoughts about this kind of dynamic between the four of them?
Yeah, no, I think it's been very good. It's been very interesting. I definitely agree with you. It's the wrong time to turn Io. She's so over. She's so beloved by the fans and stuff. And I think that she's one of those wrestlers that could get away with, if you wanted to fight, if you wanted to face Rhea, to book the match. She's more than proven this year that
there's no long-term benefit in her turning heel.
Nah.
Like, we're back where we were a few months ago, and wasting a great babyface run.
No, I mean, I'd imagine that this will then lead into, obviously they will need to determine a next contender for Stephanie Vaquer. And this again goes into the one problem that Crown Jewel is actually going to keep coming up with every year is that they will need to obviously make sure they're setting up a new contender kind of around the same time as Crown Jewel taking place, because at the moment it's like the champions are obviously pausing their things, and I think this is where sometimes they need to be able to do those audibles, those last minute things, happening, because if the champion is focused on like one person who's another champion, it's this kind of like exhibition match kind of thing. Why wouldn't someone seize that opportunity and be like, you know what, this champion's not even caring about me or about anything else. Let me just take my opportunity, and the Raw Smackdown before the show, let me win the championship.
It's a good time to cash in the Money in the Bank briefcase as well.
Yeah, because the champion's not. You got 2 in the ring each time, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean they did flirt with that last year, didn't they? Because Tiffany tried to cash in on Nia and Liv.
Yes.
So yeah, they could definitely go back to something like that.
Yeah, but ultimately, I think this is going to be definitely something that continues further past this. But I don't think it should include Io Sky as the bad guy.
Yeah.
I imagine that Io and Rhea would get the win here. I do think we're probably going to go, but weirdly, I do think they're going to do the typical losing upwards thing, and I could imagine that Asuka will be positioned as Stephanie's first feud after this.
Yeah. I mean, you've still got as well the talk about kind of dilemmas of kind of who's actually friends with who. Kyrie still being, and again on the kickoff, they really played into this. Like, she was saying that she respects both, sides, and Asuka was like, no, like telling her what to say. It was quite funny.
But the thing is, there's even some fun things they could do, like, because even with Kyrie, what if they did like a match, like like a 4-way? Well, this tag match could become a 4-way. Easily. And
number one contender
accidentally kind of wins that, and she becomes a contender. Then you got Kyrie taking on Stephanie, and then Asuka's jealous, and Asuka costs.
I like that because
the matches that can come out of this.
Yeah, that I like because because Kyrie's amazing, and she's fallen into the background of this group. They're all talented within if we're talking about the 3, with Io, they're all super talented, like they're in their own right and main eventers in their own right. But Kyrie's been lost.
I mean, I've made this thing like a point this year, but I think we should remove the gender. Like, we're talking about 3 just of the best wrestlers they've got in Asuka, Io Sky, Kairi Sane.
Yeah.
Ripley as well, 4, and then plus Seth Vaquer. Like, you're talking some of the
best, great talented. Yeah.
Enter a wrestling ring, in the year 2025. Like, I think, and I think, there's so many strands that could come out of this. I mean, I'll probably go down that. I'll probably go down Kyrie, or it's like a battle royal or something. Like, again, just more ways to feature more women as well. Do you know what I mean? Like a battle royal, when Kyrie accidentally wins it, like, or accidentally eliminates Asuka, and then and then she ends up winning or something.
Or even like they make the match between the 4 of them because there is still friction, and she's like, I don't want to be in the match, and then she's in the match, and then like Asuka's like, yeah, but you're gonna help me, and then she somehow like accidentally wins, like you say, and then Asuka's like, all right, well, yeah, okay, I'm all right with it, but she's clearly not, and then she tries to cost her the thing, and then eventually like Kyrie is the big one. It's not about Io anymore; it's about Kyrie conquering, which it definitely could be because they've definitely got that kind of seed in there anyway of Kyrie being kind of coerced and all that.
Just hope whoever's writing it wasn't and dealing with this isn't the same person who was dealing with the Otis and Shaq Gable thing last year, because that honestly had me in absolute just like hysterics sometimes. Not hysterics, but absolute fits of rage. Like, it's right there. Like, it's right there.
Yeah.
Just do it. Just do it at the moment. It's there now, and they didn't do it. They just decided not to do it. And Chad Gables isn't a much better. Well, wasn't a much better place before he left. We obviously need to see what will happen when he does return. Obviously, I do think the Americana character is going to grow away from him. But anyway, sorry. I think the definitely.
That's if it was him in the first place, Lucas. What are you talking about? Let's not make accusations.
But you know what I mean? Like, I think they need to make sure that there is definitely this come up in. But there's so much they could do with this. Yeah. But even in the 4-way, you have the whole thing, got the Asuka locked. You got that submission locked in. The person's not tapping. And another person obviously kind of comes in to stop it. Kyrie has a dilemma. Like, does she break? Does she just, attack that person? And obviously Asuka gets a tap out. Or does she maybe roll up that person? Roll them up, quick 3 count, 1, 2, 3. Just that person's about to tap. Kyrie's on. We've seen a lot of these, particularly women's back, a lot of the kind of aerial stuff we've done. We've seen, like, obviously at WrestleMania, obviously Io Sky with the did the moonsault, onto the was it the figure 4? No, what move was it?
Oh, was it the No, it weren't. I'm thinking it was Charlotte with the thing, but it wasn't. But they were kind of in that same position, weren't they?
Yeah, what way it
Like the
was?
figure of eight. Something was going. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When we've seen that, I mean, and Kyrie saying she got the elbow drop, the insane elbow drop off the top.
Yeah.
You know, what if that? You know, but I think there's so many ways they could go with this because, and I think it's one of those where you just got to go with the fact that look at all the options of good matches you have, you know, and just book towards them. Like this, you know, if you want Kyrie to be the first challenger, that works. You want Asuka to be the first challenger, that also works. Again, you want Io to be the first challenger. There's so many just genuinely good, like, you know, genuinely, I think Io Sky and Stephanie was probably the best match there'd been probably since Mania. I think it was such a good match.
Really good.
And it was good. They just gave them time, and they didn't do any of the interference, distraction, all that kind of stuff. That, you know, can obviously, don't get me wrong, some of it helps a match, but because it's been done so many times now, it's kind of losing its effect. You know, because it's just like, oh, of course, I'm going to interfere because you know that's how it's done. But I think in terms of this tag, I think that Io and Rio will get the win. I think, yeah, it's Rio's hometown, but I think it will be a case of losing upwards, and we'll probably see Asuka and or Kairi Sane challenge Stephanie, you know, going forwards.
So it's strange though, because I look at the graphic and I'm like, oh, the tag team should win. Like but it is a different kind of scenario.
But another thing,
it's not exactly rosy there.
They have got a women's Survivor Series tag to set up. Survivor Series or War Games tag, depending on...
Yeah, so I saw this rumoured kind of, like, in between coming off of there from the Smackdown review and on air for this show, about what the men's and women's War Game is going to be. And it was so wildly over the place. I'm like, is that legit? I couldn't tell. It's one of those where they were quoting a reputable source, but I can't remember. But I don't know if it was an actual kind of if it really came from them, you know. So I'm like, oh, okay, I don't know. I saw it kind of third party, I guess, or second hand, if you will.
What's been the discussion about the women's one then? I'm not really seeing much about.
So I saw it was like. It was more like your classic War Games where it's like loads of random people just together, or your classic Survivor Series match. It wasn't like the Bloodline versus the MFTs. The men's one was like, and I don't know if this was legit or anything like that, and I'm only trying to remember it, but it was basically like, yeah, that was it. The men's one was like Punk, Roman, it might be Punk, Roman, Jay, someone else, and the other side was Seth, the two guys from the Vision, Brock Lesnar and Austin Theory. I don't get where that. So I don't.
I get where Austin Theory's coming from.
Yeah, but then the women's one was a similar kind of thing. Yeah, one of them said Lash Legend, and I was like, what? Where? How's that coming? But it was basically like it might have been Rhea. It was all the baby faces versus all the heels. Basically,
Yeah.
It was that kind of thing. Oh, like Becky on the bad guy side as well. So, but again, I don't know how legit this was. It was just something I saw just before coming on air.
Well, the thing is, they haven't really got any factions for the women.
No,
you know, they haven't really got any. They got a couple. They barely got tag teams. To be real.
No, yeah. If Liv was around, you could definitely flesh that out a little bit. You have Liv and
Raquel.
You know, Raquel with Roxanne Perez as well, so they could maybe kind of do something like that. It's not enough.
In my opinion, you have to sit there and say, look, do we do a War Games match when we haven't really got a War Games team?
Yeah.
Are we going to force it together now? Which literally was the problem people were having with Survivor Series previously. You know, correct me if I'm wrong. The problem people were having is it all thrown together, and it's just because of the month of the year it was in.
Yeah,
no, really
same
got
thing.
That. I mean, we can maybe because even with this tag match, like this could be the start of something. But then who did the Kabuki Warriors choose? Like particularly with Asuka being so bossy and stuff, you know. So is it just maybe just do one, just do one War Games match?
Yeah, no, I agree.
You know, but that's obviously something for next month potentially. But yeah, I don't see how Lash Legend. I mean, look, I'm all for people getting call ups and stuff and getting used well, but that would be really jumping the gun. You know, time you've got. You know, and with the fact that she'd lost her last two feuds in NXT, again, I know I said losing upwards, but you're talking about someone who's lost two feuds back to back.
And they're going into the main event of Survivor Series potentially.
Yeah. And this whole. I don't know if to say it or not, because the ones I keep seeing for the men involved Cena on one side and Brock Lesnar on the other side. And I think Cena is more likely out of the two. Like in terms of percentages, I'd probably say maybe 10%, 15%. Actually, maybe high, maybe 30% to be fair. But I think he is, if he does do it, he's in last and just literally everything's always set up for him. So he
Yeah.
comes in, AA someone through a table, AA someone off the cage, shoulder tackles everyone, then
Yeah.
AA someone, off the top of the cage, and that's the finish.
Yeah, I mean, putting Cena there, and again, this is something we'll dive into in future, I'm sure, kind of solves some of the problem with his limited dates as well. Like, he's just in a match to be the good guy in a good guy team, so you don't have to kind of book him for anything else. He's just there to help, maybe even as a surprise as well.
But the Brock Lesnar, just like, I don't see it at all. But it will link into something we'll talk about the main event, I guess, because it's all Paul Heyman centric, and there were some very weird things that happened, some interactions that have happened, since then, that I guess I can see why some fans are thinking, oh, Brock Lesnar might be more than this.
Yeah.
Because they've got a lot of unanswered questions when it comes to him, particularly obviously he was last seen F5 in referees, and whereas before they were quick to do the Brock Lesnar's been fined, Brock Lesnar's been suspended, Brock Lesnar's been escorted from the arena by police or security, nothing happened.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
And you got Heyman saying, Heyman, back for one night with him, but then is it for one
Something's going on. Yeah,
but anyway, we'll get to that.
We will. All right, so just to kind of cap off on the women's tag team match, I'm going to go with the good guys as well. Then I think it probably is going to be Io and Rhea. I'm hoping they don't. I will get the temptation of turning Io, but I really hope it's not the case. Let's move into someone we did just mention a moment ago, though. Let's talk about John Cena. Of course, it's his farewell tour. He's now going against someone who's just today announced that next year will be his farewell year in AJ Styles. He mentioned on the Kickoff show that this is, it's time for him to start winding down. He's been mentioning it for a while, and this is also a match that many of us hoped might be on Cena's farewell tour. I'm looking forward to this one, but just because they are fun wrestlers working together, and they hyped it up quite well on the Kickoff show because again they're baby faces, so it's always difficult building towards a babyface versus babyface when there's no kind of blood feud and it's just we respect each other and whatever else. But at the very end of it, I really did appreciate AJ Styles doing his old classic of beat up John Cena, which is quite funny. So I'm looking forward to seeing what these guys can do together. It does bring up more of kind of, at this stage, should we have been given this to kind of, repeat matches? And again, I think that's a whole podcast in itself. And I think once the dust has settled on Cena's final year, it'd be great for us to go back on it. But let's just focus on this match itself because we've got it. It is here. And a lot of people are happy it is here. And I'm one of them as well for kind of what it is on its own. It's just a fun match. It'd be fun for those in Perth to get this match as well. Picking the winner, though, I think is tough. Because it kind of does play into what Cena does in his final few matches as well. We've just seen him. He lost at WrestlePalooza, didn't he, to Brock Lesnar?
Lost
so
Cody as well.
Maybe here's where you get Brock come out and F5 him again or something like that. Or I don't really know. Or we set up that final match, and I know a lot of people are really starting to lean into the rumours of Gunther here as well. I really don't know where we're going with this because I don't know what the point of this match is. If it's about getting him in the card to give him storyline progression, it would make a lot more sense now why they suddenly threw together a match and not a feud. AJ versus Cena, that gets him on the card and everybody feels like, oh no, they ruined this beautiful moment between two legends showing each other appreciation because the big bad Gunther or whoever else ruins it. So I'm kind of talking myself into that prediction, Lucas, is what I'm saying. I'm going to go with the match gets ruined and Gunther is the reason for that. I'm going to go, as far as the result goes, I'm going to go with maybe I can't even go with a draw. I'm going to say a DQ because he's going to hit someone first, isn't he? He's going to hit Cena first. So
Cena will win then, wouldn't he? I guess by DQ.
Yeah, Cena wins by DQ.
I mean, obviously that's how they did it with the Brock Lesnar return last time, I guess. But I don't know whether they're going to do that on a PLE. If he had, I think it's the thing. If he had like another PLE that wasn't Survivor Series and obviously his last match, maybe because then they can do the rematch and be a clean finish. I think it wouldn't. I'll just follow. I know it's a bit of a cop out, but I think because they can just follow that default, it's a house show format. I think Cena will win. if they want to do like a something, I think they might just do it after the match.
I can see that.
They've got like 2 TV appearances of Cena in November. If they want to really start, do a build or something to his last match in Survivor Series. So I don't know whether there's need to hit the panic button just yet. Though I do know they like, well, apart from WrestlePalooza, it seems they like having obviously big surprises and big things happen on the PLE. Gunther's got to return at some point. But in a weird way, like I kind of don't want him to return now because I'm looking at Raw how it is. It just makes sense though, because I guess they'd want potentially Gunther to return and then kind of be reintroduced again onto TV.
On Raw, yeah.
It's been a while, isn't it? It's been a while. But then the part of me just doesn't want that to happen because I think they need to distribute the TV time to other people and other things like the Raw Tag Division, for example, and obviously even some of the women's mid-card stuff. Because it seems obviously AJ Lee's back to being disappeared again.
She was in that rumoured match though, by the way, just to let you know. Again, don't know how true it was. Team Babyface, she was on.
I just think, I just kind of think we need, there needs to be other people that are featured. So there's that part to it, but I can see that it does fit their MO quite a lot. But I think it'll probably be done after the match, though. I don't know whether they'd risk a DQ or non-finish to this because they can't do it again.
But they don't need to either because no one needs to get the win because they're both baby faces and it's just a legacy one more time type thing. So it doesn't really need a definitive.
I think
who really should have won.
I think the only thing it does is because Cena is retiring and it's just you don't want to leave any opening essentially for fans to think he can come back. And it's a case of if he has this match and it doesn't finish against this long-term rivalry, they build it up, blah blah. There's always gonna be that. Oh, of course he's gonna come back for the AJ Styles match.
See, I wouldn't think that. I think it's because maybe I just don't care. Like I don't care, But I think it's because they're both baby faces. There wouldn't be a part of me that goes, "Oh, who would have won that match?" Like if it was. And saying that, I think they kind of didn't they do that with because R-Truth got involved. I mean, no, it was just a messy finish, wasn't it? The Randy Orton one, and that felt like it was going to be. Oh, maybe they'll do it again. The CM Punk one as well felt like. So I kind of get where you're coming from there. It does feel like a similar scenario, and maybe you're right. It does happen at the end of the match again. WrestlePalooza. I thought Gunther might show up then. I think I'm sticking with Gunther showing up, but maybe you're right. Maybe there'll be a victory before that, like a bit of a cleaner finish. If that's the case, then who is it? AJ Styles or John Cena?
The thing is, this is John Cena's final time wrestling outside the United States of America. This
yeah. Oh gosh, yeah.
This is the last thing, that's ever going to happen out. Well, I don't. This is move whatever. The last thing in this retirement tour that will be done, outside the United States of America. And I think they need to give it a definitive, conclusive finish. I think they don't. And even if it is AJ wins, which is also cool, like AJ deserves way more flowers than what he's been getting, the past few years, really.
Yeah.
And obviously, he himself has announced, he's looking at next year probably being his last year.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think it needs a conclusive finish. But I will go with John Cena, just based off. Also, it will be his 100th pay-per-view win, wouldn't it?
Oh, would it?
Yeah, remember he didn't win. That's how they were building up the Brock match last month, wasn't it? But obviously, he lost to Brock. So it'd be his 100th pay-per-view victory. And what better way to do it than to beat, at the moment anyway, the biggest rival that he's kind of got presented to him. Because he's already faced, obviously, Punk and...
as far as what's left historically.
Yeah.
I know there's the big one of... I don't even want to talk about it because I could be here for an hour and I don't want to talk myself into it. But I will mention... Huh?
Mr. Rated R? We're talking about Mr.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. It would be so good. It would be so good. And I think it's more doable than it might be in any other timeline, any other time, period of wrestling history.
But does that exist as a one-off in your head, and then he goes back to AEW? Or is his contract up? Yeah. Some people think his contract should be up around that time. I know we're obviously living in a world where we didn't think we'd live in. we live in a world where,
Yeah.
which I still cannot believe this exists, but we've got the Hardy Boys and the Dudley Boys having a match for the NXT Championship on a TNA event. It's literally like Rock and Roll Express and the Road Warriors fighting for the WCW tag titles in like 2001. It's bonkers.
Yeah.
Even further than that, I think, you're talking about 20 years. More 25 years even. So you're talking literally like the Road Warriors deciding they're going to fight for the tag belts in like 2009. I think by that point, at least one of them was dead. Like,
they came back in when was it? I think Hawk died in like 2000, or they even around 2003, because then he became Heidenreich, Animal and Heidenreich after that. So, yeah, you're right. It is, when you put it like that, it's really bizarre. I mean, not saying I'm not looking forward to it. Don't get me wrong, and not happy about it, but
it's a genuine
timeline-wise, crazy
rematch for Hulk and Andre rematch at WrestleMania 28, WrestleMania 30. We're laughing, but this is the gap we're talking about. 25 years.
True.
We're talking. Yeah.
Good for them.
But anyway,
good for them.
What I'm getting at is never say never, but I don't see them allowing a non-contracted superstar to work a match full stop, let alone obviously Cena's last match.
I think it's the history of like we're in a different world. But I know you can only set it to so much, of an extent, because some things are still fact and they wouldn't want to do certain things. But right, let's part the Edge conversation there for another day where we can continue to be wishful kind of thinking in the future. But yeah, sticking to this a kind of somewhat dream match that we've got a rematch of again. John Cena versus AJ Styles. I think I'm still going to go for the Gunther thing. Who is it you're going for again? What did you? Cena. You are going Cena. Okay, so Cena to pick up the victory. And I understand your thinking there as well, because he's got a kind of, I guess, strong on his way out towards his final match as well. So,
well, your way would also say Cena get the victory. It'd be by DQ, I guess.
Yeah, true. You get both things in some ways, but yeah. Right, let's move on to I was going to say main event, but I really don't know what's going to be main event. I saw some rumors saying that ESPN were advertising Roman Reigns Bronson Reed as the main event. So, I don't think that's going to be the case, but
obviously we have seen even the Royal Rumble match doesn't go last always. But I do think that you shouldn't really break the tradition already on a brand new event.
The Crown Jewel match is weird when you kind of bring it up in that sense, but
it involves both champions.
Big story here behind both these guys. There's a lot going on, of course, especially for Seth Rollins, as you've touched on earlier. So I'm looking forward to hearing your point on that. But yeah, Seth Rollins, world champion versus WWE champion Cody Rhodes. We've touched on what it means to have a champion versus champion match quite a bit already. So let's focus on what it means specifically for these guys. I mentioned earlier on, I like the fact that Cody's back in it because it gives an opportunity to give a little bit of kind of legacy, no pun intended, for someone like Cody. But also, and again, my example of, I think the world champion needs to win it. And I think that's the case this time as well for Seth. He's had a bit of a rocky kind of period for, his vision. Doesn't feel like his vision at the moment. And you kind of alluded to it there as well. Brock Lesnar's in the mix. You've got Paul Heyman very recently, very obviously saying to Seth, look, I might have to dump you, basically, and we might have to move on without you. Before that, it felt subtle and like they were going to do, were they not sure? Were they just going to break up the thing or move Seth and Becky away from it? And, it's been kind of confusing, but now they've really made it obvious. They did a few subtle things a few weeks ago where I really liked it, by the way. Heyman being like, don't go in there. Oh my gosh, you've gone in there and got beaten up. I told you not to do that. I thought that was clever. But this past week, they were really kind of like playing into like, he might leave him, which now tells me he's not. He's not leaving him. But we still got this kind of Brock Lesnar thing hanging in the background. Cody himself has a few enemies, and kind of there's a story that, needs to come out of this anyway, whether it be the Jacob Fatu one or Drew or some sort of mixed thing as well. But yeah, what are your thoughts on this, man? Champion versus champion. For me, the winner should be, and I'm hoping it will be, and I think it will be, Seth Rollins. So I'm going to lock in my prediction for Seth anyway. But what about your kind of theory surrounding, I guess, the future for Seth?
I think that Seth is having us all on.
Yeah, that's what I
think
feel
this
as
is
well, which
another
is why he's been
plan.
quiet this week.
Yeah, I think this is like another plan. But I think only thing that's kind of, I guess to be fair, like Cody falling for it kind of fits into the motive. But yeah, it feels like it's not being talked about enough. But that might be one. Obviously, the downfall of Seth is, kind of the focus of this, and all the kind of different relationships and stuff, all the questioning. But it does feel very much that this is like a Heyman and Seth plan, or this is how they want it to go. I imagine another reason why I think this match will be main event / on last is because I don't think it will be a match that will just be kept to people in the ring. I think obviously there's a lot bubbling under when it comes to both these wrestlers. We've still got the ongoing feud with Punk obviously for Rollins. LA Knight as well is involved. You could argue now, though I guess they also do feature in or factor into the Roman stuff maybe a little bit more at the moment. But obviously, of course, you've got the Vision, who maybe one member less depending on how they decide to do the street fight. But still, there's Braun, there's Becky, there's lots of other outside factors basically being featured in this match. But yeah, I think ultimately Rollins has got to win. And obviously, we did the DKW prediction today, and like pretty much everyone has said for Cody to win this.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. That shocks me. Like, I get it because company guy and they just push him all the time.
We're just
but
used to it, aren't we?
Yeah, but I'm seeing it different. I am seeing it as like the reason he's in this match and coming out with he's the champ. Don't get me wrong, but like he would have been in the match. But the reason they're like, or a benefit basically of him being in the match is the fact that he won it last year and the fact that he's like they've done that. He's got the ring and he's built the prestige on it, and he's going to be. It's a reason for him to be upset about not winning. Like someone not winning it for champ versus champ is we'll move on. But like someone who feels like the ring got ripped from him, which is a cool visual, they might do something like that anyway. And I think what you're saying there about like it being a ruse from Seth and Heyman, I mean that's what this whole story's been, right? It started that way with Seth winning over Heyman and secretly, and then them revealing it at WrestleMania, and then the big moment from after that was him, pretending he was still amazing, just to think back how cool it was, cashing in, and kind of throwing his crutches and all that.
And obviously bringing Becky into things.
Yeah, like it's been very that's their MO, so I completely get where you're coming from.
Yeah, and so I think as well there's more mileage to tell this. I do get they do like doing the whole you never beaten me kind of thing, and they may want to factor that into future things, but I do think that this is a feud which, because they've reopened it by their choice, not by their choice, but by their choice, but it is mainly by this booking, which another thing they've got to factor in, they are going to continue with this, is that if they do want to park feuds, they then need to factor that into potential future championship situations. Like, for example, the Drew and Punk thing, I think that's very much parked. But what if next year, one or both of those people, both of them are champion? Then you've got to basically reopen it for one match, even though you just closed it, and similarly for stuff like WrestleMania matches. What if then the champions get drafted and move out, and then you end up with a WrestleMania, the WrestleMania blood feud ends up just being done at Crown Jewel again, because they're both champions. So we've got to factor that in. But I think there's much more to come from Seth winning than there is from Cody winning in this. I think Cody's got some stuff he needs to sort out on SmackDown. It seems obviously we've got, Drew McIntyre still very much wanting the championship. Jacob Fatu wanting the championship. Potentially, if they want to touch upon at the end of SmackDown, instant reaction, potentially looking at maybe Azza Black, Damian Priest, kind of all these people bubbling under, and actually keep him occupied. Like, he's been the face of the company, he's done a fantastic job, but I think the tide's already starting to turn in some cities in the US where he's getting, a few boos every now and again, because we are talking about a guy who's, main event in WrestleMania, 3 years in a row, one King of the Ring,
two Royal Rumbles
back to back, already won the Crown Jewel Championship. Does he need much more? Like, probably,
you've actually kind of built me up into kind of if Cody wins me right type situation, then this has come from someone. I've enjoyed, like I say, I think he's done it great, and I think he is deserving of the position he's in. But they need to be careful with that. And the good thing about it actually is if Cody's a great sympathetic babyface, so ripping the ring out of his hand or something like that. Or, I mean, I guess they won't do that because he won't be wrestling with it. But something along those lines at least is good because it creates a sympathy. But Cody goes off and does his own thing. Like that's the beauty of it in some ways, that they are on separate brands. That there is that story from the past, the Hell in a Cell and all this kind of stuff. The injury, the return that Cody had at WrestleMania was against Seth Rollins, of course, as well. Dusty, they can play into all these kind of historic things, but then at the same time separate as quickly as they need to, and it just becomes, because all the other things, the examples we've given, it was at someone's expense, but that continued. You brought the Punk thing, you brought in Becky, all this kind of stuff. Whereas this, like, he uses Cody as the pawn, basically, to be like, we're still masterminds and we're still buddies. But Cody, it doesn't have to go him and Cody next month. Cody just goes off and does what he needs to do, and then Seth goes and does what he needs to do, but looks kind of a genius, basically, because he has this kind of new ruse. So I'm really liking that idea, and I hope that is the way to go about it as well. And ultimately, I do think, for many reasons, for the ones we just said, and also for the title as well, I think it's a good thing if Seth Rollins wins. Yeah,
it's good to have different people. I mean, you'd argue it should really be something that people only do once, and then I guess if there's just again could be. The thing is, traditions are weird because you have no idea at the start what's going to stick, what's not going to stick. The amount of stuff we've seen in the past, think, oh yeah, maybe they'll do it again. No, it doesn't get done again. Like one of the biggest things to me is scramble matches just disappearing. Just doing like two of them, then both being bangers, and then they're going, oh no more.
I've just remembered another one, and this isn't as fondly looked at by some people, but even though I think it could be great. But another example, like we said earlier on about them trying to make Saudi appear kind of something important happen, or make them feel like they had something important in their shows, was the World Cup. That started Saudi as well, didn't it? So it's
annoyingly though, that's what happened when politics and money and wrestling get involved, because of that was them being annoyed, obviously, about Qatar getting the World Cup. That's basically what it came out of. And then Vince McMahon turned it into a vanity project for Shane McMahon to win.
So weird. The one of wrestling is so weird. Like,
it's going to be. There is so many periods of wrestling where if like I said, at TKW, I've got wrestlers who are, I've got people coming to train with me who are 16, 17, 18 years old, and some of them do say they just got into wrestling this year or last year or whenever, a couple of years ago, and there's so many bits where I'm just like. Because now it's so easy. Everyone's got Netflix and YouTube and all that kind of stuff. You can type whatever you want to type in.
Yeah.
And eventually, this new generation of wrestlers or upcoming fans are going to stumble upon stuff which will be so hard to comprehend. Like, because it's just night and day from what takes.
Yeah.
Like, how do you even explain to them, to someone who's never seen, someone's only seen WWE this year, how do you explain to them the whole World Cup situation, the whole Shane McMahon thing, the whole Undertaker versus Goldberg, like...
Strange period, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, would you imagine, like, you say, you got a friend who wants to maybe come around and watch some wrestling with you. And you know what, mate? I'm going to go out and get the food. Stick on WrestleMania 36. Stick on WrestleMania 36. Why don't you stick on Extreme Rules, the horror show, the Eye for an Eye match?
Yeah. That's.
There's so many things. We're just like, how are these people, new eyes, going to look at this and like, in the era we're in now, which is bonkers. And the thing is, it makes it more bonkers that a lot of the people are still in the company, whereas in like years gone by, like when people were only in the company for like 2 years, 3 years maybe, it's like, okay, fair enough. Like, these are different people. But you're literally talking about, Damian Priest and The Miz had a match where there's zombies around the ring. Like, this was within, and this is within the same universe.
It's not very far away, is it? Yeah,
it's crazy,
good point.
There's
a lot. Oh man, I know you've said it before, but that specific you touched on a little bit there, kind of 2018, 2019. But then you've kind of given some more examples of like pandemic era stuff. And I know you've said it before, but it'd be crazy. It'd be great to look back on that crazy period of like what wrestling was like at the time.
Well, even post COVID, you had the whole Nikki ASH thing. That came and went.
Yeah.
Gosh.
There's
so much stuff.
And look, that's not to say some of it weren't good or good in its own way, but yeah, we are, and not to say everything now is perfect either. Don't get me wrong, but I do think we're definitely in a much better position as far as wrestling goes. But look, that brings us pretty much to the end of the show, actually, and kind of predicting the card overall. I think we're both kind of happy with our prediction for Seth freaking Rollins there, and yeah, there are some potential surprises. Not like WrestlePalooza where we had a million kind of surprises, and we even said going into it they're not all going to happen, but at least one or two, and it turns out not much happened at all. Other than a fantastic match between Stephanie Vaquer and Io Sky was the main highlight. But I do think this is a card that kind of sets itself up for not only great matches, but hopefully some really good moments. And again, if SmackDown in Perth is anything to go by, we're in for a good weekend essentially, because that was a really enjoyable SmackDown. If you haven't seen it already, go and enjoy that, and then hopefully you'll also enjoy our instant reaction review to SmackDown. Again, you'll find it on this very channel. All right. Well, there's not really much time for you to head back and watch our instant reaction review now, but we are here live on the build-up, and I hope you enjoyed our replay there of the weekend kickoff show. Once again, thanks for joining us. My name is Scott. This is the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel, and if you've been here before, you know what we do on these PLE days, right? We get you and us hyped up and ready for the big show indeed. So I hope you've been enjoying the replays of our SmackDown review. Again, I really enjoyed that show, as did Lucas, as you saw, and also our conversation there from last night about Crown Jewel, where we did our original predictions and things like that. I don't think my views have changed as far as who I think is going to win what match or anything like that. But I know there's been a lot of chat in the comments about the order of the matches and stuff like that. And there's also been some great speculation going on. So it's possible some predictions would get swayed. But at the moment, I'm sticking with the same ones I made last night. Keep your comments coming though, guys. Again, I've been lurking in the background, chatting to you, of course, in the chat. We'll go through some of the best kind of topics on this live portion as well. And we'll go through any last minute rumors. I know there's been a lot of conversation about who's going to open the card. I still don't see anything, which is weird. At this point, there's usually reports going around. Maybe because it's simply in another country, it's harder. I don't know. But yeah, it's to me, it would make sense if it opened with Bronson Reed and Roman Reigns. I'm not sure if that is what's going to be happening, but that's what I think would be a good way to do it. Again, let's get to some of these comments. Again, appreciate all the comments that were coming in while we were showing our replays. A few comments here from Casper talking about how much he enjoyed the Last Man Standing match on SmackDown. A weird ending using the fireball to Aleister Black, but him versus Damian Priest was a fun match, and using Zelina Vega. Of course, his real life wife, that was a bit of a tongue twister, showed up to give him a hand there as well. A handful of fire, it would seem. A very, very fun way to use Zelina and Aleister Black together. So yeah, looking forward to seeing what they do. I think it breathes fresh air into both of their kind of current characters and presentation. What else do we get? Yeah, a little bit of talk about AEW here. Casper saying it's good to see Andrade showing up in AEW, and says, I think that Seth needs to win. No disrespect to Cody, he says. And again, I 100% agree with that. Also from Casper, a lot of talk at the moment about what could be happening with the Vision. Could Seth be splitting from the Vision? Could Brock Lesnar be coming back into the fold here? It'd be interesting to see. Also talk about whether or not Brock Lesnar could go after Cody Rhodes again. And again, I replied in the comments earlier on, but I really hope that's not the case. We've seen too much of Cody Rhodes and Brock Lesnar together already. They need to be doing something fresh, in my opinion. We'll talk a little bit about John Cena and his kind of farewell tour and how that can be played on WWE 2K. You can make your own version, I guess, if you're not happy with what's been going on. And as Madman says, finally a pay-per-view with good or okay time, at least, in India. Of course, here in the UK, we're watching at 1 p.m. It is now 12:12 here in the UK, so we're not far away. What's that? 48 minutes away. There you go. Quick maths until the WWE Crown Jewel PLE kicks off from Perth, Australia. Ghostface is in the house. Been dropping some great comments here as well. Says, oh man, if Dijak was never released, him versus Sammy would have been a banger for the US title. Of course, talking about the Open Challenge. And then Wesley versus Sammy would be good as well. Again, real shame that we've seen Wesley's been let go. You know, you talk about one there and Dijak that got let go, but a real shame to see and a shock to see that Dijak, well, Dijak previously, but Wesley this time has been let go as well. Madman says, I just want Cena versus Dom at Survivor Series, to be honest. Yeah, no more Lesnar stuff, essentially. And it'd be good for him to get the Grand Slam. I saw a few comments here from people in the chat agreeing, including Ghostface once again as well. And going back to the timing as well, Ghostface says, I live in England, so the time the show starts is perfect for me, but I stayed up all night, so I'm tired. And I said in the comments, Ghostface, it is kind of ironic, right? You're tired even though you got it at a reasonable time. But look, looking forward to seeing what we have here at Crown Jewel. It is fun for us, especially on the channel, to be able to drop you with some extra content. Look, we always do build-up shows anyway, but we don't often get to do as many instant reaction reviews or watch-alongs as we would like, because again, it's not usually at a reasonable time. So it was really fun to do Smackdown yesterday. We did a watch-along for that. We won't be doing a watch-along for Crown Jewel today, I'm sorry to say, but we will be back straight after the show itself to hit you with an instant reaction review. We'll be talking kind of all things coming out of Crown Jewel, all the big stories. If you want to know my thoughts and opinions on them, make sure you tune in after Crown Jewel goes off the air. Come back here to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel to see what I've got to say about things. Again, going back to what you guys had to say about things as well, let's get to some more great comments here. Madman says, yes, the 100th pay-per-view victory for Cena could be what we see tonight. I do think Gunther could be showing up and spoiling the party, and maybe the last kind of goal for Cena is to get that 100th, and he doesn't. Do you know what I mean? Maybe he does go out on his back as well. Speculation about what could be the opener here from Madman said it could be Styles and Cena. Madman wants to get that out of the way and watch it as quick as possible. And we were talking about possibly, more tributes from Cena, hitting things like the 619 today. We'll have to wait and see. More up-to-date comments I haven't got to yet. I also think the Kabuki Warrior should win, says Madman. The only way they should lose it is if Kairi betrays Asuka. So you would have seen on the original prediction stream that we did there on the weekend kickoff show that I think it would be good for Kairi to go against Asuka eventually and be the kind of overall winner of this entire story. She's kind of lost in the shuffle at the moment, which is a real shame because she is equally, if not maybe more talented than the other two that were in her group before. I know that's up for debate because some days I'll say that no, it is Asuka. Some days I'll say no, that is Io. But that's the point. All three of them are so talented. Yet Kairi's kind of slipped into the background. And I think that might be on purpose for this story, hopefully anyway, to kind of bring her to the forefront once again. Because Asuka looks important because she's the bad guy. Kairi's kind of cowering behind her. And Io looks like an absolute megastar at the moment. So if we can therefore then pick Kairi back up and lift her kind of to that level as well in this kind of long-term storytelling, I think that'd be fantastic. But of course, referring there to Io Sky and Rhea Ripley, the hometown gal, sort of, at least in her home country at least, going up against the Kabuki Warriors. My man says, imagine Kairi goes nuts in all three, Asuka, Io, and Rio, and stands... Rhea, there we go, and stands tall. Unfortunately, Triple H does a bit like that because he wants to make others look weak. I don't know. I mean, I think she should look strong in the end, but it'd be good if she if they stretch this out a little bit more. Maybe she, as me and Lucas were saying on the weekend kickoff show, maybe she accidentally gets included in a fatal four-way match and accidentally, becomes number one contender, and then kind of there's this kind of thing playing off between Asuka and Kairi where Asuka's pretending to support Kairi and Kairi's a little bit, concerned and scared, and then she ends up winning the title, and then Asuka's jealousy really kind of gets on top of her and she kind of attacks Kairi or something like that. I think it's a great long-term story that you could tell. Ryan Powell's in the house. Always good to see you, Ryan. Hope you're doing well. And thanks for joining us on the stream. Always good to see regular names and those coming in for the first time. And we appreciate you. I hope you're looking forward to Crown Jewel. We are just under 45 minutes away from the show kicking off. Stay with us. We'll take you right the way up to the show itself. I know WWE have a countdown show on themselves at the moment. We'll kind of act as your watch-along experience for that as well. Just checking in on it at the moment. There's nothing really going on, but we'll see you up to date there. Man says, I hope Austin Theory gets pushed tonight. And we're going to notice again, myself and the last one, we're talking about the rumours going around that Austin Theory is being featured in the War Games, which just seems so out of left field. But since then, there are more, publications kind of backing this up. Saying they've heard similar, essentially. So they've got to start pushing him at some point, right? If he's going to be in a high position like that, at some point he's got to get back into the fold. Could it be here tonight? Ryan says, I reckon Cody beats Seth and Cena beats AJ, and then Rhea and Io to win, Tiffany to win, and Bronson Reed to win. So again, I've given you my predictions already yesterday, guys, but let me just run through them again, just in reference to Ryan's here. Cody beating Seth, I don't think it's going to happen, and I really hope doesn't happen, Ryan. So I hope you're wrong with that one. Cena beating AJ, I'm kind of 50-50 on the Cena AJ one. I think Gunther could be arriving to kind of mess things up, so it might be a draw, or Cena wins by DQ. So I kind of go with you that one. Rhea and Io, yeah, I think that's probably likely, actually. I can't remember if that's what I said last night, but that's how I feel at the moment. Tiffany, I hope not. I think Stephanie should win that one. Bronson Reed, this one was really tough, because do you go Roman Reigns 3 in a row? Again, this is more going with my heart and what I want to happen. I think Bronson Reed should win this one. So hopefully that is the case. And yeah, me and you hopefully are right on that one, Ryan. Casper says I've been a bit burnt out with AEW at the moment, which is a bit of a shame. Hopefully they'll kind of bring you back on the side soon. I've been dipping in and out of AEW stuff lately. There's so much going on in the wrestling world at the moment, right? You know, there's so many options for us. And a man who's a big part of that is, of course, Triple H. He's being interviewed by Kathy Kelly at the moment on the Countdown. Let's see what he's got to say. Talking about the kind of strain of travel to Australia for this show. I've got to say, some of them have looked a little tired. Talking about last night's Smackdown, the energy. It was a great show. Again, myself and Lucas did a watch-along for it, and we managed to do a instant reaction review. Really, really enjoyed everything we saw on Smackdown. I mean, a lot of that, as Lucas said, ironically, didn't really play into Crown Jewel. You know, it wasn't the greatest go-home Smackdown, but, like, it was a great Smackdown on its own. So if that's anything to go by as far as, like, just a fun show, I think we're in for something quite special here today. Weird saying that, right? Today on the Crown Jewel as well. Casper says, but as we said, Brock turns up. Could be showing up here. And where he shows up will be quite interesting as well, and what he does. Cody will defeat Seth, says Ryan. Cody's already got the ring from last year, Ryan. We don't need him to win it again. Look, I like Cody, don't get me wrong. But, hey, you could be right, because as Lucas said on yesterday's stream, Cody's won so many things over the past few years. Not only has he been champion for a long time and then lost it and won it back, he won 2 Royal Rumbles, he won the King of the Ring, he's been involved in War Games, he's done a lot. Tiffany is not good enough to be champ, says Madman, with the current competition. Chelsea and Alexa deserve it more. Of course, Chelsea Green in a Secret Harvest phase and Alexa busy as tag team champion. But I think Tiffany is starting to struggle. I think she is. I think people catching up with her. Stephanie Vaquer being one of those. I really think she is. And look, this time last year, we were all clamoring for Tiffy time. I just think something needs to change with Tiffany. And again, referencing myself and Lucas's previous conversation, I think she just needs to turn heel. Casper says Kyle Fletcher, I said, is great if you've not seen him in AEW. Yeah, Kyle Fletcher definitely making waves on the other show. Ryan is a Cody fan. Ryan, I'm a Cody fan as well. Don't get me wrong. But I think Seth needs to win because things are looking like they're falling apart for the division. So I think they need to make it look strong again. And I think this has all been a little bit of a swerve to get to that. Also an LA Knight fan, Ryan. Yeah, me too, Ryan. Big fan of LA Knight. A real shame he's not become champion, in my opinion, as in a main title at least. So let's hope we see something like that from him soon. Still very much involved in the main event picture, though. So let's hope he does get that prize eventually. Casper agrees with me, though. Says that he thinks that Seth is going to be winning this year's Crown Jewel Championship. Again, picking up on what's going on with the countdowns. Pretty long interview here by Kathy Kelly with Triple H. He is not looking as businessy as usual either. Nice little leather jacket number there. Mentioned just a moment ago Bronson Reed and how he missed out last time they was in Australia. This time, big match though for him. Of course, Roman Reigns, he's faced before, but he's lost. So let's hope it's a big win for him tonight. Ryan's a fan of Logan Paul. No Logan Paul on this show, of course, Ryan. But yeah, Logan Paul's work over the past few years in WWE has been nothing short of incredible, really, when it comes to athleticism and performances. We are just over 30 odd minutes from Crown Jewel kicking off. I want to know where you're tuning in from around the world, guys. I know we've already had some comments referencing that so far. We've got India. I know there's a few people in from the UK and from England specifically here as well. But yeah, we appreciate wherever you join us from around the world. Again, we're getting to watch it here in the UK at 1 p.m., which just feels weird. But I'm here for it. I mean, Crown Jewel tends to be an early show anyway because Saudi. I think it's usually like 10 or 11 a.m. if I'm not mistaken. But this being at 1 p.m. in the afternoon is pretty decent for me as well. And then, as I say, once the show is over, I'd imagine it's going to be about a 3-hour show, maybe a little bit longer. We're going to be right back here on the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel, let you know exactly what we thought of all the big stories coming out of Crown Jewel as well. So, yeah, keep your comments coming, guys. Let me know what you think's going to happen. And hope to see you on the Instant Reaction show later on, where I want to hear what you think of what has happened at Crown Jewel when it's all said and done. Ryan's not a fan of Shinsuke Nakamura. I liked Shinsuke coming back last night at SmackDown. I thought it was pretty good. Ryan's in from the UK. Good, Ryan. Thanks for letting me know. So again, a 1 p.m. start for you, Ryan. Tiffany hasn't grown or gotten over, I guess you're trying to say there, Madman, during this reign. Her promos still suck. Oh, and our lackluster booking isn't helping. But booking wasn't that good 2016 to 18 either yet. Alexa, Sasha, Bailey, but still wasn't attained. That's a great point you make there. Again, on last night's stream, myself and Lucas were talking about that weird period in WWE where we had some crazy booking decisions. But as you say, some real stars shining despite that kind of backwards booking at times. Roman beat Bronson Reed last time, and Brock screws Roman is the prediction for Casper. Yeah, Roman has definitely got the upper number in these Bronson Reed affairs so far. So I think it should be Bronson Reed getting it this time. Ryan says that they like watching it at night time, so that's what you do. Oh, okay, fair enough. So you're here for the build-up, getting hyped up and in the mood. Appreciate that. And then what, you're going to just go about your day and then watch it later on as a little bit of a replay instead? Interesting. Either way, whenever you watch it, Ryan, I hope you enjoy the show. I hope that after it, you'll watch our replay then at least of our instant reaction review, see what we thought of the show as well. And again, we always appreciate the comments, whether they're live or on the demand versions of the videos as well. And Casper says, yeah, I know indeed you are from the UK as well, Casper. And the show is starting soon, of course, like you say, 35 minutes away. Casper, you've just reminded me of something we like to do here on the Build Up Show. You know what I mean? Our tradition is to say, guys, what are your snacks for the PLE? And it's interesting this time around for us, right? No matter where you are in the world, this PLE is starting at a different time for you, right? So whether you usually eat breakfast when you watch PLEs and you're going to be eating someone else, or you have a midnight snack and it's now going to be your dinner time, whatever it may be, let me know in the comments, guys. What are you having while you watch Crown Jewel or while you get ready for Crown Jewel? I know Casper's always got a crazy snack inventory. So yeah, let me know what you're going to have. I've had, it was weird. I had my breakfast and then came on air. You know, it's just weird. So I guess I'll be having lunch while the PLE's on. I'll tell you what I'm having for dinner. Spaghetti bolognese. I know that at least. 5 p.m. here, says Madman, so it's perfect timing for watching WWE, but you have that exam tomorrow. Remember you said, yeah, it doesn't help. Look, make sure you study. You want to be prepared for your exam, Madman. I appreciate that. But hey, at least you get to watch it at a reasonable time. Hopefully you can squeeze in a bit of homework in there as well. Ryan says not many women's matches on this card are going on at the moment. There's 2 on the card, so nearly 50% of the show. Man's snack for the show is just some water. Okay. After all the snacks we've had over the years on the build-up show reported into us, I've never heard just water. Drinking today, not a lot. Not got a lot of snacks today, but enjoying myself. I'm glad you're enjoying yourself, Casper. And not many women's matches on this card. To be fair, it's a small card, isn't it? You know, we always talk about how the 5-match card thing is a bit disappointing, really. Some pay-per-views, or PLEs as they're known now, could definitely do with being more fleshed out. And they mentioned on SmackDown, you know, that there's going to be a Sol Ruka and Zoria challenge to the women's tag team champions of Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair, but nothing announced as far as when that would be. Maybe since I've been asleep and woke up, they've announced it as next week's SmackDown. I don't know, but we did speculate whether or not we'd see it in Crown Jewel, and we're not, and that's a real shame. Even if it was on the pre-show, I think it would have been good, and that would have at least made it on the day, at least 50-50, right? 3 men's matches, 3 women's matches, but yeah. Maybe some iced tea. All right, put a little bit of flavour in there, Madman. Ryan says you prefer the men's matches anyway. Look, I think there are some amazing talents in the women's division. But hey, look, we all like different things. Don't get me wrong. But as Lucas said yesterday, when you talk about people like Io Sky, you're not just saying, oh, one of the best women's wrestlers in the world. You take that out of it. One of the best wrestlers in the world when it comes to many of these guys. The Hardys won the NXT championships against Darkseid. Yeah, the tag team titles. How weird is that? That in this big year of 2025, the Hardys are winning WWE branded, at least, or WWE owned tag titles. Amazing. We are just over half an hour away from Crown Jewel kicking off. A little bit of a freezing moment there. Let me know what you think is going to happen. Let's quickly run through the card, guys. Let's talk about what we're going to see taking place at Crown Jewel. Again, we don't actually know the order just yet. So if anyone does see it reported somewhere, let us know. We'll go through that. But what we know so far are the matches, at least. Crown Jewel Championship on the line, of course. The women's division, at least. Here we have Tiffany Stratton, your WWE Women's Champion, going up against the world champion in Stephanie Vaquer. Will we see a victory for the newer champion here in Stephanie, or the more established main roster talent, Tiffany? Time will tell. Talking about established talents and newcomers, we've got the big dog, Roman Reigns, going up against big Bronson Reed, the Australian, looking to impress in his home country. And I really hope he does pick up the win on this one here. But yeah, Roman Reigns versus Bronson Reed. I've enjoyed their feud so far, and I think we could get something quite interesting tonight, especially if they allow Bronson to go over. But again, it could play into what else is happening on the card with division. So we'll have to wait and see after the show is done whether or not this match had any kind of bearing on that. Talking of long stories, we've had this kind of friction between the Kabuki Warriors and their former teammate in Io Sky, who's now teaming up with her friend Rhea Ripley. Could we see a swerve here, though? Again, I did mention on the kickoff show that there is a chance that Io Sky turns on Rhea Ripley here. I hope it doesn't happen. I think she's majorly over as a babyface at the moment and has done well to get to that position, so I don't want to see it. But that could be something we see happening tonight. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. And also tonight, or this afternoon, I should say, we're going to see AJ Styles potentially, for one last occasion, beat up John Cena. Or maybe John Cena's going to get the win. We'll have to see. John Cena in his final run, of course, ticking off some of the legends from his past. And AJ Styles is the big name we've got for today's show. John Cena, AJ Styles today. Sounds like I'm getting choked up in emotion about this. I think I just need a drink of water. Give me one sec. Little ad on the Countdown show, by the way, talking about Royal Rumble coming to you from Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia usually gets Crown Jewel, and they actually got 2 brand new titles last year at Crown Jewel, but this year it's been moved to Australia. And the men's one is on the line between the current holder, Cody Rhodes, and of course the holder of the WWE title, as he was this time last year as well, going up against Seth freaking Rollins, the World Heavyweight Champion. Who's going to come away with the big gold? I think it's going to be Seth Rollins. And I think it should be. Let's get to some more of these comments, guys. I'm going to love to know what you think of my original predictions as well. Madman says, 2 women's matches being half the card is crazy. In Vince's era, there was only 2 women's matches, but it was about 20% of the cards. Good point. Even though we don't have as many matches as we used to, at least we have a stronger representative as far as how much of that card is taken up by women's matches. So yeah, good point there. And way better in quality, way better in timing as well. So yeah, we've got to appreciate it. I don't mind this starts at 1 p.m. says Casper. Again, a good time for us. David says, are we going to be showing the matches? Unfortunately not, David. We don't have the rights to it here. But I do hope you can find something because you don't have ESPN on TV. Look, if you've got VPN, you can watch it on Netflix if you pretend to be in another country. Assuming you're in the US, David. What time is it for you, David? Stephanie Vaquer says winning. Sorry, Stephanie didn't say it. Casper said it. Stephanie Vaquer winning this, but love them both. It's Tiffany time. Hoping for a great match. Yeah, I'm hoping there will be something to kind of rant and rave about once we come out of it. Just, never mind who the winner is. Hopefully it'll be a good showing of the future of WWE. John Cena wins because he lost the last PLE to Brock Lesnar is Casper's prediction here as well. And David says it is 7:33 in the States. Man, it's an early start for you, David. I would say it's kind of what it's usually like for us in the UK, but it's not. It's the opposite. We're usually watching PLEs at 12 or like midnight or 1 a.m. I know Madman is from India, and Madman also watches at mad times, but different to us. Of course, Madman is getting to watch at a reasonable time here, but yeah. It's interesting, isn't it, when they shake things up and go to these international spaces. At the moment, I should say, on the Countdown show, we've got the Tribal Thief talking to Kathy Kelly in a pre-taped segment, talking about his rise and kind of going up against Roman Reigns. And we're seeing Paul Heyman really behind Bronson here. He's definitely been kind of more aligned with Bronson and Braun lately. And, of course, that could play into what we see here tonight or this afternoon for me on Crown Jewel when it comes to the Crown Jewel match. Seth Rollins, he could be turned on tonight. Or it could be all a big ruse, just like the Heist of the Century was back in the day, but also like his Money in the Bank swerve recently, and also bringing in Becky Lynch into fold, aligning himself with Paul Heyman. They've had these big kind of aha moments. So maybe we've got another one here. Man says, pretty sure Tribal Thief got a copyright strike. Yeah, well, yeah, right. It wasn't the term, but it was the shoes on the shirt, wasn't it? They looked a little bit dangerously close to the shoes they were actually referring to, and it looks like somebody in some higher up in some company maybe come along and said to WWE, yeah, don't do that, which is a real shame because it was a great T-shirt. But as I mentioned, it is an Australian street fight. I wonder how that will differ from a Chicago street fight or a good old-fashioned Donnybrook or a hardcore match. Spoiler alert, it won't. Other than maybe some Australian-themed weapons. And what are we thinking, guys? Australian-themed weapons. What we're going to get in the Australian street fight? Boomerang, number one. Inflatable kangaroo, I would love to see. Can of Foster's. Don't get me wrong, I know they don't really drink Foster's in Australia, but in the UK it's branded and marketed as an Australian beer, so you never know. What else could they use? Australian weapons. A mullet wig. I don't know. Cena will hit a shooting star press today. Madman, you are a madman. You said earlier on 619, I was with you on that one. I don't know about a shooting star press. Oh, I'm loving your suggestion for an Australian-themed weapon, though. Cricket bat. 100%. What a great shout. The Aussies love a bit of cricket. Maybe a rugby ball as well. Or some Aussie rules football gear. Bronson Reed takes Roman's shoes again. He hasn't took them for a while. Since they got rid of the shirt, they kind of shied away from the shoe thing, didn't they? He should take his shoes and do a shoey. That's what he should do. Oh, 100%. He better do that. But it'll be his wrestling boot, won't it? It won't be his Jordans. But, 100%. Ryan, you've got me onto something there. He should take his shoes and then he should do the shoey. Of course, if you're unfamiliar, Australians drinking beer out of their shoes, essentially. You might have seen it last time they went to Australia. You might have seen it on a Kickoff show where Grayson Waller did it with Rio and... You know what? That could be their tag team name. Rhea and Io tried to get Michael Cole to do it. He didn't want to take his shoe off. But yeah, Bronson Reed should take Roman's shoe, be the tribal thief, and then, as a man of Aussie culture, put a beer in it, drink it. Yeah. We better get that. What an opportunity. What a clever story. That's the thing I'm most excited about maybe seeing on this show now. Of course, the Aussies versus the British versus the Indians for the best, for the cricket best team of all time rivalry. Yeah, it's heated between those three teams, isn't it? Casper says, do you see Angelo versus Montez, the Street Profits split? It's a crazy few PLEs back. You guys mentioned it. It didn't happen, but there's friction there. And sure, the Wyatts winning was great last night. Yeah, the Wyatts went straight into hinting a little feud with the MFTs, didn't they? Again, we touched on this on the Smackdown review, so it's not really related to Crown Jewel, of course, but if you guys after Crown Jewel want to know my thoughts on that, check that out to see in depth. But yeah, going back to the Angelo and Ford thing, I don't know, when's it gonna happen, guys? You know, as you say, like, it's not just the past few months, it's years, and it feels like it's been really hinted recently. And I thought it'd be on Smackdown. I thought it might be, because I was like, well, it's either a PLE or in a title match, and it was a title match. So, and they've been kind of, I should say, Whites have been involved with that feud quite heavily, trying to, you know, turn the knife and turn them against each other. Been kind of their thing. My man says, I don't know about the shoey on a kickoff. It is gross. I agree, mate. As much as I want to see it, I ain't taking part. Number one, if it's your own shoe, it feels better than doing someone else's. Because did you see Michael Cole kind of said he might do it off of Grayson's because he didn't want to ruin his own shoe. So there's that one side. Ruining your own shoe, not a fan, right? Yeah, it'll dry, maybe. It'll smell, though. But then, so drinking from someone else's shoe is nasty. I don't want to be doing that, yeah? But drinking from my own shoe, at least it's my own shoe, right? I can control that somewhat. But again, you ruin the shoe. It's not very hygienic, is it, guys? It's not very hygienic. I'll stick to the good old-fashioned glass. No beer for me today, but nice, refreshing glass of water at least. Love JC Jane and Sol Ruka killing it for me at the moment. Yeah, they're doing great. Sol Ruka especially. I think she's been highlighted quite well recently. Of course, now in the tag team herself. But yeah. Man, I've seen your comment there. You are a... No. I'm sure there are people out there who would like to drink from other people's shoes. Specifically. Like, actively... want it. I get that. That's a thing. Tony Atlas comes to mind. Fair enough. If you like it, you like it. I get you, man. I get you. All right. They showed a promo for AJ versus John Cena. We're 20 minutes away from Crown Jewel kicking off. Still don't know what's going to open, guys. I know Man wants it to be that so he can get on with his exam prep. But I would imagine it's going to be Bronson Reed versus Roman Reigns. Let's have a look. Is there any news? I'm just scrolling through social media, checking with the outlets. Doesn't look like we got anything going on at the moment as far as rumours of order. What do you think is going to come from the AJ Styles John Cena match? Is it setting up John Cena's next feud, or is it just going to be a fun match? Again, no real news, it seems, as far as order of the card. And yeah, I see, man, you want you need Cena opening up. As I say, one of the great rivalries. Okay, so apparently Michael Cole confirmed earlier that Cody versus Seth is the main event for Crown Jewel. Now, I kind of got that. I know there was some reports going around that apparently ESPN said that Big Bronson Reed versus the Big Dog Roman Reigns would be the main event, but very unlikely for me. And again, I think that's more likely to be on first. I mean, sometimes you want to split the Crown Jewel, so maybe that will be first, the women's one. They're my two picks, either the Crown Jewel women's title or Reed and Reigns. Again, just a clip now being shown on the Crown Jewel countdown of AJ saying he's going to retire in 2026. Brittany asked, we're going to show the show. Sorry, Brittany, we won't be able to show the show just for copyright and rights reasons. We are here just purely to get you in the mood for the show. We're getting you hyped up. Talking last minute rumours, talking predictions and stuff like that. So thanks for popping in anyway, Brittany. Hope you're doing well. Hope you enjoy Crown Jewel. And I want to know what you think is going to happen. What you're looking forward to. AJ Styles now being interviewed on the Countdown show. Again, we won't be doing a watch along for Crown Jewel, but we will be having an instant reaction review straight after it goes off the air. So if you're enjoying this show, thanks for sticking with us. Once Crown Jewel is in the books, we'll be live again on this very channel, talking all things Crown Jewel and all the big stories to come out of it. What will we be talking about, guys? Are we going to be talking about a return? Are we going to be talking about a swerve or a turn or a twist in any way? Will the vision still be as it looks before Crown Jewel, after Crown Jewel? Will Brock Lesnar get involved in that match? Will Gunther appear and go after John Cena? Will someone else show up and go after John Cena? AJ Styles just said it again. Beat up John Cena is what he plans to do tonight. Again, let me know, guys, what you think is going to happen at Crown Jewel. Loving the comments so far and appreciate everyone that's joined us, whether live while we had our replays on or during this live section on the build-up show. Again, if you're new here, welcome in. My name is Scott. This is the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. And what we like to do on a day of a PLE is get you hyped up and in the mood for it, taking you all the way up to it and talking last-minute rumours and predictions and things like that. A little bit of a watch-along for the countdown as well. We're seeing some music being played there, some didgeridoos it looks like. At Perth's beautiful arena setup that they've got there for Crown Jewel. You can see the lovely crown on the stage, much like when they went to Paris and they had the Eiffel Tower. Very cool to see. But again, welcome to the Rebellious Noise channel, pro wrestling channel. If you're new or you've been here before, we appreciate you. Please subscribe if you haven't already. What we do, as I say, is we get you hyped up and in the mood for the PLE. That's the plan. It always gets me hyped up. I love talking wrestling with you guys, especially just before a PLE. And then again, we'll hit you with an instant reaction review later. We usually try to get our friends from the wrestling media on this channel for these streams as well. Haven't managed to do it today. Again, schedules are all over the place for this show, but I'm glad we've managed to hit you with a build-up show nonetheless. And again, I hope you've enjoyed what we've given you so far. Madman says, do you guys also do football streams? We've dabbled in it. We do have a football channel, Madman. It's Rebellious Noise Football Channel. So just like Rebellious Noise here for the wrestling channel, we have a food channel as well, Rebellious Noise Tastes or RN Tastes. We have a film and TV channel, RN Screen 1, Rebellious Noise Screen 1. The main Rebellious Noise channel where we've covered things for many, many years of all sorts of different topics, and Rebellious Noise Tunes, which is our music channel as well. They vary in how much we are active on them. I'll be honest, we are most active on our wrestling channel, but with the World Cup coming up next year, it'll be a great opportunity for us to dive back into the football channel for sure, and some stuff before then hopefully as well, don't get me wrong, but a lot of great content on the archive. But we just run a lot of these channels quite differently. There's a lot more live stuff on the wrestling channel, but yeah, check out the Rebellious Noise Football channel if you're into that sort of thing. Appreciate your comment there, man, and for asking that question. Brock could still show with Roman being on first. Do you think we get an AJ Styles farewell tour? Yeah, good point, actually, Caspar. I don't think it'd be so much a farewell tour in the same way that John Cena's has been. I think they'll make a point of it. Maybe his last ever match. I'm still not sure if he's going to have his last match in WWE, though, I'll be honest. Maybe he's last in 2026 in WWE and goes elsewhere. But great question there, buddy. As far as Brock, yeah, maybe could show up at the beginning. If Roman is in the opener, but I think he's in the time with the Seth thing. So is Brock, so it'll be interesting to see where to go with that. Pretty sure Nokia is the main song for WWE right now. Talking theme songs here. I like it. looking on a countdown show now, they're talking about masks from the past. Penta is ranking masks. Lady Flamer. Number 5, he's giving Rey Mysterio number 1. Psychosis, he's going to give number 2. Oh, Grande Americano. He looks annoyed. I wish he could give that 5, I bet. He's going to have to give it 4. Who's left? Oh, his brother, Ray Phoenix. He said number 1, but they're like, you already gave Rey Mysterio number 1. Here's a cool mask. All right, guys, we are 12 minutes away from WWE Crown Jewel. Again, appreciate you guys sticking with us. We're taking you as close to the PLE as we can, which is 12 minutes away, as I say, and then we're going to hit you with an instant reaction review straight after the PLE goes off the air. So if you haven't already, subscribe, and you'll see it hitting your feed in a few hours' time. Make sure you tune in for that one. Let's run through the card before we do wrap up, though. Just a final kind of call for what we're going to see on tonight's, or this afternoon's PLE when it comes to me here in the UK. Crown Jewel Championship match, the World Champion versus WWE Champion, of course, Stephanie Vaquer versus Tiffany Stratton. We are also going to see Bronson Reed from Australia taking on the big dog, Roman Reigns. Io Sky is going to team up again with another Australian in Rhea Ripley, taking on the Kabuki Warriors of Kairi Sane and Asuka. We're also going to see John Cena and AJ Styles for one last time. Will we see any twists and turns in this as far as who his next opponent could be? Crown Jewel Championship in the men's division is going to be on the line again. Last year's winner, Cody Rhodes, is going to face Seth Rollins. Of course, this time last year, Cody was WWE Champion. He's since had a detour, lost the title to John Cena and won it back, but it means he's back in this opportunity to retain that title. It's not something that will happen every year, of course, but this time, last year's winner is also in the match. So will he continue to be Crown Jewel Champion for another year, or will Seth Rollins be taking the gold away from him? Not just the gold, but the ring. A few more comments here before we wrap up. You know, I've never always been into Sami Zayn, but loving Sami Zayn's US every week defending the title. I'm loving Sami Zayn's work right now. Yeah, good for Casper. I mean, good for Sami, like Casper. It's always good to see when people, I guess even for years, you think, yeah, I like him, but then suddenly switch on something that you really enjoy. So that's quite interesting. I've enjoyed it as well. I've always been a big fan of Sami, don't get me wrong, but I really have enjoyed his US Open Challenge. Again, a great callback to when John Cena did it for him. El Grande Americana should win at least the championship, in my opinion. Not like the Steed Championship. An actual one. What could he be winning, though? The world title? I'm hyped for Cena versus Styles, says Madman. My GOAT is leaving soon. He is indeed. As you can see from, where is it? There you go. The last time is now, guys. And it's also time for me to start wrapping up this stream. So thank you all so much for tuning in to our build-up show. Again, subscribe if you haven't already. This is what we do on the day of a PLE. We get you and us hyped up for the big show. Again, with our friends from the wrestling media world and our friends from the online community that we have here at Rebellious Noise. Thank you so much for tuning in, whether you're new or you've been here plenty of times before. We appreciate you. Really appreciate all the comments and those lurking in the background, just kind of enjoying the content itself. We appreciate you as well. But we would appreciate that you subscribe and check out more of our content. We've got interviews on this channel with some of your favorite WWE superstars, including the likes of LA Knight. We've also had great conversations with Bayley in the past and Big E. Oh, it's so great to see Big E looking happy with the WWE title on his shoulder there, isn't it, after the recent speculation around his retirement. But look, we got some great content on this channel from the past in the archive, but also coming up very soon, including our instant reaction review to Crown Jewel. Thank you very much, Casper. I will enjoy it indeed. I hope you do as well, buddy. And everybody enjoys their snacks alongside it, whatever time of day you're watching this show. I hope it's one that you enjoy. And that is going to bring us some great stories to talk about on the instant reaction review. Again, make sure you tune in for that. But I've been Scott. This has been the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel for the build-up show to Crown Jewel in Perth. I hope you enjoy the show, and we'll see you for the instant reaction review in a few hours' time. Thanks very much.
Welcome to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. On this channel, we bring you some great content from inside and outside of the squared circle. We will go through and offer some in-depth analysis of the biggest events of the year, as well as bringing you exclusive interviews with some of the industry's biggest names. There will also be live show reviews, in-depth features and podcasts. So make sure you give that subscribe button a slam so you don't miss any of the action.